the college football playoff tomorrow night. We'll figure out the top 12 teams. A lot of other things going on in the world tomorrow.
No, not really. Okay, maybe one or two other things.
I'll be so glad when it is officially done with political season. Because I can't go on my laptop. I can't watch a football game. It's just the amount of money that is being spent on advertising.
I continue to
amazing.
get texts from PACs. Just PACs everywhere.
And even though that you tell your phone that this is junk.
Stop to end does not work.
No,
it doesn't work.
No.
They don't listen.
It just increases it.
That's par for the course, though. They don't listen.
Mm-mm.
They don't listen to the people. Press stop to end to stop these. Stop to end. And then they text me with a new number.
What time will you get in line at the polling place tomorrow?
I'm going to do it after the show.
After the show. Molly's doing it after the show.
I am.
Maybe I'll go before the show.
Conrad's going to do it in between his shifts. He told me.
Correct.
Between the morning show and
you've already voted. So
I have already voted. I have already cast my vote.
Hopefully your vote didn't get, the I don't even know what they do with them here locally.
According
I heard
to
where
the
a post office got broken into somewhere. Somebody stole a bunch of stuff, including votes or ballots.
Because originally I was scheduled to be out of town.
Yeah.
So absentee is the route that I went. And according to the Secretary of State's website, my ballot has been accepted.
Okay, good.
So you can track it, which I thought that was pretty cool. So my ballot is in the system.
Yeah. I'm like you though. I'm ready for all of it too.
I mean, it's just the barrage.
Yeah, I'm ready for it to be done.
I mean, both sides. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's just pretty much like.
Yeah. Both sides of the aisle.
Yep.
Last minute attempts. It's like, do you really? My $25 tonight is going to help push you over the top.
Well, it's going to help for the party. I mean, that's what I mean. Not the political party, but the party they're going to have.
You need my $25 right now in the state of Pennsylvania. Really? No, you don't.
You buy a shirt with someone's mugshot on it one time and you get put on 20 lists. Funny how that works for me.
Oh, wow. All right. Plenty to get into today. There will be no Hugh Freeze press conference today.
Good. To be honest, I think a lot of Auburn fans saying, "Good, don't really need to hear anything from the coach today."
Don't know what else he would say.
No,
outside of what he has said spoke
volumes on Saturday.
The 6 times that he has lost this year, but he will get a respite from that. We will talk to Nathan King from Auburn Undercover at 10:30, as we will get his thoughts on the loss to Vanderbilt and going forward, where Auburn is now really behind the 8 ball. If they want to be bowl eligible, they have to win the next 3 games. Why are you rolling your eyes at me? I'm just telling you what needs to happen. I'm not predicting that's what's going to happen. I'm just telling you.
Okay, you're right.
For them to be eligible for the Birmingham Bowl, they need to win 3 more games. So we'll see what happens. Down the stretch, La Monroe, Texas A&M, at Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. Coming up at 12, we will hear from the current football coach at the University of Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, as his team coming back the off week, getting ready to head down to Baton Rouge. Some question about the weather down in that part of the world by the end of the week, in the weekend, as there is a tropical depression that is supposed to be forming in the Gulf of Mexico. Some models has it going towards the Florida Panhandle. Another one has it going towards Louisiana, which would then be directly affecting Alabama and LSU. So we'll hear from Kalen DeBoer at 12 noon. 1 o'clock, Coach Bill Clark, former UAB head coach, will be by his typical 1 o'clock slot, in which we will talk about the weekend. That was college football. But let's start what happened now on the plains of Auburn. Auburn loses 17-7. Auburn closed as a 9-point favorite in that football game against Vanderbilt. What was the most shocking thing for you, Landrum, seeing Auburn lose to Vanderbilt 17-7?
Just the regression offensively. And you thought that maybe they had figured some things out against Kentucky. And you do give credit to Vanderbilt with the defensive plan. But we saw regression. We saw early in that game, you had a guys that had gotten wide open and Peyton Thorne couldn't find the touch to find them in what would have been big plays. Just overall, I think settling into the reality of the lack of development from individual players on the offensive side of the ball, the offense as a whole. I realize that Vanderbilt's better, but you should be able to score more than 7 points at this point in the season, especially in your home stadium. And after figuring things out and self-scouting, they can't do that. I will praise DJ Durkin and the defensive side of the ball and the young players. I feel like they have individually grown and gotten better as the season's gone on. But offensively, it is just an absolute mess. And I realize that they outgained Vanderbilt, but you have to put the ball into the end zone to win football games. And Auburn has continued to have a problem doing that, especially at critical times.
Well, you look at what Auburn did offensively. They averaged 6.1 yards per play in the first half, but they went 0 for 7 on third downs. They went 2 for 13 for the game. And on third downs of 3 yards or less, Auburn went 1 for 5. When you have Jarquez Hunter in the backfield, that's even more perplexing. Last week against Kentucky, Auburn running back Jarquez Hunter had 23 carries for 278 yards. Against Vanderbilt, 12 carries for 50 yards.
Second least carries he's had all year.
Freeze said that Hunter looked gassed later in the game.
Oh, that's why they threw it to him 3 straight times late in the game?
He only had 2 carries in the second half. Hunter had 15 yards on the first play from scrimmage, then had just 35 yards on 14 carries the rest of the game. So he had that 15 yards on the first carry from scrimmage. Then after that, it was just MIA, milk carton. Like, where was he?
It makes no sense. I mean, again, because I know, and I mean, we're going to hear from Hugh Freeze, but I know one of the things he brought up in the post-game press conference is, well, we were down, so we can't keep running the ball.
It was 7-7.
You're down 3 points.
Yeah.
A lot of that game. 3. That's it. You need to drive down the field, score a touchdown, and you have the lead. Like, it's not, you're not down 17. It's not a minute and a half left in the game, no timeouts, and you got to go 80 yards down the field. Like, it makes no sense.
And I'm just telling you, because a lot of this stuff is, and I'm not trying to create some type of wedge here. I'm just telling you, a lot of these people, you better get ready, because when you only target Cam Coleman 4 times, he's got 1 reception. You think a couple other SEC programs will be knocking on Cam Coleman's door and say, hey, I think we can give you a little bit more targets than 4 a game that you had against Vanderbilt. I think we can take care of you. I'm just saying, those things are going to come up. Let's hear from Hugh Freeze. This was him after the loss to Vanderbilt.
Extremely disappointed again. This has been too often a story this year for us, for our players and our fans, and just very disappointed. I thought our defense played their guts out and played well enough to win, and probably did the best job against that squad of anyone all year, and outgain them again, and for like the 5th time this year it feels like, and don't have anything to show for it, because we're just not able to finish. And whether it's finishing drives with points from our field goal unit, or whether it's us not converting third downs, we struggled at all of that today, and certainly disappointed that we didn't stack upon last week's effort. Just didn't think we strained as well offensively as we did last week at Kentucky.
Whose fault is that?
It's the guy that was just talking for a minute and however many, 2 seconds. No, that's on you.
I mean, it's like Conrad said, it's not like you fell behind 21-7 and you had to throw the game plan out the window. You got one of the best running backs, not only SEC, but the country, in your backfield.
Yeah.
And once again, you're not giving the ball, and then you want to make some type of asinine statement that he looked gassed, but you threw the ball to him 3 consecutive plays in the second half? It defies logic what the heck he's talking about. Meanwhile, Vandy, the defense, as you pointed out, played very well.
They play winning football. Bottom line, they play winning football. 227
yards of total offense for Vanderbilt. 227 yards. Now, think about this for a minute. If you think about the history of Auburn football, it's the first time Auburn has lost a game in which it held an opponent under 250 yards of offense since 2015 against Georgia. It's almost been 10 years since that happened. Meanwhile, the fans were not happy. It was audible. This is not some created mess. Fans were booing. They were not happy with the product, once again, that they are seeing at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Keep this in mind. Hugh Freeze now is 1-6 in SEC games at Jordan-Hare Stadium as the head coach of Auburn.
That's unfathomable.
1-6 at home. This is what he said when asked about the boos.
Yeah, I didn't hear any. I don't hear that, but we're just not consistent enough. Obviously, in critical downs offensively, I think our defense is playing really at a high level. Offensively, when we're not able to create explosive runs, it seems that we really struggle to protect the passer and to throw and catch some. So, but and we're not playing very well in special teams. So that's a bad combination.
Were you guys like me when he went for the long field goal? Why did he try to kick the field goal?
Some of his decisions in
sense.
game have just been baffling.
Calling a timeout with 2 minutes and 1 second left. That was incredible.
Well, he did admit after the game that was a bad decision.
Well,
he did own up to that one.
But even going back to a game that they won in Kentucky, there were just why are you calling a timeout with 18 seconds left at that point?
And
right
you come up
before
with
the
no
half,
points.
and you come up with no points. No, it's just whether it's a timeout before a critical fourth down or a third down, and some of the things we've seen. And the problem is, I think a lot of Auburn fans have lost trust in Hugh Freeze in critical moments. And this coaching staff to a point on the offensive side of the ball that they know that you're gonna get everybody pulling in the same direction and everybody's on the same page. It's been inconsistent all year, and now that we're at this point where we're 9 games into the season, you've seen regression. You haven't even seen it being stagnant or flatlined. It has actually taken a step back. And for DJ Durkin and for that defense to be playing at a high level with the losses that they've had in thin in places and the inexperience and those guys continuing to get better and to fly around with the football and to hold a Vanderbilt offense to their lowest output of the season, yards-wise and points-wise, and for you to muster 7 damn points on offense is absolutely inexcusable, Hugh. It's inexcusable. I'm not calling for your job, but I'm saying I think a lot of Auburn fans are now questioning you as the head coach and making decisions for this football team moving forward. He's not going to get fired this year, but he's going to be judged. Wins and losses, you throw that out the window. They finished with 3. They finished with 4 wins, maybe 5. I don't see him running the table. I don't know what the odds are on that, but they can't be good. But how many guys are you able to retain in the recruiting class, and how many of those vital guys, pieces that you have for the future, can you keep from going into the portal? And what are you going to do at quarterback? That's how he's going to be judged. But the seat is going to be hot next year regardless.
Well, here's the other thing, and it goes back to this, and you brought this comparison up a couple of weeks ago, and I agree with you 100% that Hugh Freeze is a poor man's Gus Malzahn. Take a look at this number, and it'll make you think for a minute. He has been a head coach in the Southeastern Conference for 7 years. Out of those 7 years, how many do you believe he has had a winning record in the SEC?
Out of 7 years, I'll go
Say 2.
In SEC play.
1.
I'll say 2.
2. That's right. So this guarantees that for the 5th time in 7 years as an SEC head coach, Hugh Freeze, including both years at Auburn, will not have a winning record in conference. So where's the confidence that he is going to be able to turn this around? Where's that coming from?
I don't know. I have no confidence. I will publicly state that I have no confidence in Hugh Freeze being able to right this thing.
And how bad is it? Auburn is now guaranteed to finish with 5 or more SEC losses for a 4th straight season. 4 years in a row. This is the first time that has happened at Auburn since 1927 through 1930. That's how bad it is. But meanwhile, everyone thinks that he's going to be some savior. Give me a reason outside of him being number 5 in recruiting currently. But he got a really good recruiting class. You got Cam Coleman on the field and you only threw the ball or targeted him 4 times.
This stat, I think, really showcases how frustrating it is to see the product from last year to this year and how on paper, I think we would all agree you have a more talented roster now, but you somehow have a worse football team. You look at last year where you beat Cal, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. All 3 of those were wins last year on the road. You averaged 31 points a game in those wins. This year against those 3 teams in Jordan-Hare, you're 0-3 and you're averaging 11 points a game.
You scored 7 points against Vanderbilt at home.
Yep.
7. And you outgained them and you held their offense to 227 yards. And it was not one of these games where you fumbled the ball 4 or 5 times and gave Vanderbilt a short field.
No.
Only what, 6 penalties?
This was just, once again, it's mind-numbing. But for those that continue to beat the drum that Hugh Freeze is going to be a guy that's going to be able to take Auburn to the promised land, show me where the proof is that that's going to happen. Show me where that has happened in the history of him being a college football coach in the Southeastern Conference that gives you hope that that's going to happen.
Well, and the reason that he was hired, it was for his offensive mind.
Absolutely.
And to come in to organize
quarterback
the offense
whisperer.
and to put up points. And I don't care what the stats say about explosive plays or where you rank. The bottom line is you've only won the amount of games that you've won. You've regressed. You can't score. So why do you keep – you have to ask yourself, okay, why are we keeping this guy as our head coach to make critical decisions and paying him, close to $7 million a year? I understand the recruiting's good, but at some point, what is Hugh Freeze doing to make this football team better on Saturdays? Somebody answer me that.
I think you're going to probably hear a lot of us be quiet because
There's
I really don't have anything.
I would love to hear it.
Well, on the bright side, you do have Monday Night Football to look forward to tonight as a football fan, as the Chiefs will take on the Bucs in a rematch of a Super Bowl from a couple of years ago, and there's no better place to catch the action than at Twin Peaks in Hoover, because at Twin Peaks, football plus fireball equals heaven, and you can go into your local Twin Peaks right there in Hoover and enjoy all of the action on their many wonderful screens. Order a 29-degree man-sized draft and have a shot of fireball to go with it. Especially if you're an Auburn fan, you probably need it right now. Twin Peaks also sponsors our daily 3-man front Twitter poll question of the day, Molly, and I believe our Reaction Monday question has to do with Hugh Freeze.
Oh, yes. So Hugh Freeze is now 9-13 at Auburn, including 1-6 in SEC home games. If Auburn didn't have a top 5 recruiting class, would Auburn's administration consider firing Freeze? Yes, he would be gone, or no, he needs more time. And right now winning is yes, he would be gone with 70.4%.
I think it goes without saying. I think most people believe that if he did not have that top 5 recruiting class right now, that most fans would be calling for his job. But you heard the people at Jordan-Hare Stadium. They're not happy about this football team, the direction it's heading. And then you just have to ask the question, what's going to happen to this roster over the course of the next month, especially when that transfer portal opens up and some of these pieces that are young and they've been on the football field and they've been trying to contribute. But when you're not getting the ball to your number 1 recruit in Cam Coleman, only looked at him 4 times to try to get the ball to him, you got to wonder what that's going to look like for Auburn and Cam Coleman, because there are going to be plenty of SEC teams, plenty, that will be extending some type of offer to a friend or a cousin or an uncle or whoever would do the bidding for Cam Coleman, and he could be out the door.
Well, you've got the roster right now to not only compete, but to win games. And he has underperformed. And the bottom line is you got to win football games. And whether it's a 10-point loss, whether it's a 26-21 loss where you got the game in hand against an Oklahoma team, go through the games that they've lost this season. Being up on Missouri late in that game on the road. Bottom line is you're paid to win football games. They're not winning, and it all centers around some of the in-game decisions and especially the offense. And that is all on the guy wearing the visor, smacking on the gum.
Coming up next on Three Man Front, it's Reaction Monday. We'll open up the phone lines at 1-800-239-WJOX. We'll go to Auburn. We'll talk to Nathan King coming up at 10:30, get his thoughts on the direction of this Auburn football program. That's next on Three Man Front. It is 10:23, Jocks 94.5 on this Reaction Monday. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll talk to Nathan King from Auburn Undercover, get his thoughts on the Auburn football program after a tough loss to Vanderbilt. Now 3-6 on the season. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt, they are bowl eligible. Now 6-3 on the season. I did not have that on my bingo card when the season started, that Vanderbilt would be the state champion of Alabama. First time since 1955 that they beat both Alabama and Auburn in the same season.
Well, as we move further away from the hot weather, you know your HVAC system worked overtime this summer, so make sure you're prepared for the months and years ahead with a Trane comfort system. Right now, Trane's Unstoppable event offers you peace of mind with 10-year warranty on parts and labor with select Trane home comfort systems. To learn more, go and visit Trane.com.
It is Reaction Monday, 800-239-WJOX, reacting to another loss inside of Jordan-Hare Stadium. Let's go to Andy. He's in Wetumpka. Wants to talk about Auburn.
Hey.
Andy, welcome into Three Man Front. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you, gentlemen. Here's my question. I was listening to the post-game press conference from Coach Hugh Freeze. I'm just blown away at the softball questions to the press asked these coaches, not only Hugh Freeze, but a lot of coaches in the SEC, what do you think a reporter like Peter Ducey would have asked him after that game?
It would be entertaining.
The way that y'all are blistering him today, that's what he needs after the ball game, not 2 days after. He needs it 20 minutes after that loss.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, a lot of those people, and I will give them, listen, I think there's some outstanding reporters that cover Auburn on a daily basis. It's also rather difficult when you are sitting there and you're doing that on a daily basis and you're asking the tough questions, but you also have that in the back of your mind, how potentially that could ultimately affect the way that you're able to cover the team in regards to access.
Well, and that's true. And some coaches, unfortunately, they have feelings, they take things personally, and some of them are very, very petty, and you could alienate yourself by just asking a question that needs to be asked, unfortunately.
Well, and depends on what you just said, though. I think those players have feelings and their families have feelings too. And don't you think there are a few times that he threw some players under the bus this year?
Yes, I do.
He threw the offensive line under the bus on Saturday.
Exactly right. Mm-hmm. So, I think he needs to be held to a higher standard when he's sitting in that press room. I have zero respect for the press Saturday after that game. They should have been blistering him. They should have made his rear end so hot that he had to get out of that seat right then. That's the first question I would ask. Do you feel your rear end getting hot as you're talking right now? That's exactly what I would have said. And see his reaction to that and see how much play that people would have been asking. That reporter would have been famous today. I guarantee you, nobody in that room has the ability to ask those questions. So, gentlemen, maybe one of you could be there. I mean, I think y'all would do a great job.
I would like to see, and maybe this just isn't his personality, I would like to see a lot more fire from Hugh Freeze, especially in those post games. But it just sounds like a defeated whipped dog when he's sitting up there behind the microphone.
And it was pitiful. It was pitiful to sit there. Tommy Tuberville was there Saturday, and they were celebrating the 2004 team, with their compliments. And I wonder what Tommy Tuberville was thinking when he was flying back to Washington. I mean, I don't know. It's just somewhere down the line something has to give.
I think Tommy Tuberville knows that if this had happened back when he was a coach, his butt would be gone at the end of the season.
Exactly right. That louder jet would have been fired up the same day. We all know that.
Yep.
But it just goes back to seeing how things have changed throughout these years now. And but I honestly believe there's some softball questions being thrown to him Saturday. The press really needs to tighten up and start blistering these coaches. But anyway, fellas, I appreciate it. You have a good day.
Thank you for the call. You as well. And something that Andy said, I know that, and I hear from Auburn fans, and you do too, that follow the program. Some of them, they're making their way down, and they're cheering their hearts out and being loud inside of Jordan-Hare Stadium and supporting their team and their school. But the further away that you get from success, you could probably ask Tennessee fans, where now we're going back to what year? When was the last time that Auburn had, I'm not talking about beating Alabama, but competing for a championship? Would that be 2017?
17.
Yep.
And the further you get away from that, then all of a sudden it's a mindset, and it becomes kind of the expectation or the lowering of expectations. And the further you get away from that, it becomes the norm, and people just kind of, ho-hum. Yeah, well, we're kind of used to it. That should never be the case at Auburn in that storied football program.
So you just brought up Tennessee. Now think about this for a minute. So with Josh Heupel's win the other night for Tennessee, he has now led the Vol football program to a 500 record or better in SEC play in all 4 of his seasons at Tennessee. Now, how bad was the Tennessee program when he took over for Jeremy Pruitt? How bad was that? Nobody really, it seemed like, wanted the job. Nobody wanted to go there to play. But he came in, and for 4 consecutive years, he's going to have a winning record in the Southeastern Conference. And I think everyone would agree that when Hugh Freeze took the job at Auburn, that he was much more heralded than Josh Heupel was as a coach.
Especially in the SEC.
In the SEC. And look what Josh Heupel has done on Rocky Top as opposed to what Hugh Freeze is not doing down at Auburn.
Well, and the scary thing, too, is you look at Auburn's schedule. They had one of the more favorable schedules, not like an Ole Miss type schedule, But they had one of the more favorable schedules coming into the season, and you felt good about some of these games. Vanderbilt, yes, they have overachieved in what I expected them to do, but look who you missed this year. You didn't get Ole Miss on your schedule. You didn't get LSU on your schedule. You didn't get Texas on your schedule. You didn't get Tennessee on your schedule. You got the likes of Arkansas. You got an Oklahoma team that's down. You got Vanderbilt at home. Missouri was one of your tougher games on the road. It's sickening. If I'm an Auburn fan, I am fired up. I want those answers from Hugh Freeze. And not that I'm saying that he's going to be run out, but next year his butt needs to be on the hot seat. It's unacceptable.
Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. He's next on Three Man Front. It is 10:34 Reaction Monday here on Three Man Front. A reminder, no Hugh Freeze press conference today, but we will go to Auburn momentarily as Nathan King from Auburn Undercover. He will join us in just a moment on the Buyers Ride Hotline, get his take on this Auburn program, now 3-6.
Get a jump start on the holiday season with our friends at Mandu in downtown Homewood. Mandu is electrical muscle stimulation fitness. You're going to go into Mandu right there in downtown Homewood. They're going to put you in a Unifit suit, hook you up to a machine that sends electric pulses to various parts of your body. It's going to send those pulses to your muscle groups, whether you're trying to build muscle, whether you're trying to lose body mass, or just overall feel better. Mandu can do it. And because of the technology, it's a 15-minute workout. You're going to get results. I promise. No matter what level you're at, you hadn't been to a gym in years, or you just want to fine-tune some things, you can get those results with tailor-made programs just for you. Mandu, your first visit is free. Get into Mandu right there in downtown Homewood. You can check them out, mandu.com. That's MANDUU.com. And tell Paul and the gang that Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
Joining us from Auburn Undercover, covers the Auburn Tigers program, both basketball, football, everything else. Auburn, Nathan King joins us on Three Man Front. Nathan, the most shocking thing from Saturday's loss to Vanderbilt is what?
Oh goodness, I think it's probably sort of an accumulation of where this program is. I think the fact that you scored 7 points in November of year 2, against Vanderbilt, I just think that's sort of a summation of where we've gotten to this point. It points to a lot of things. It points to the fact that this season was never really going to be that much about wins and losses. Like, yes, you wanted to improve in that regard, but at least to me, it was more about all these changes Hugh Freeze made in the offseason. Can he be trusted, for those to be good changes on the offensive side of the ball, to stick with a quarterback, to develop a quarterback, to bring in his offensive personnel that he wanted, and to take more control. And here we are, fewest points in a home game since 2012, in just what was an abject disaster of a performance. And so I think that's the most concerning thing, is that, here we are, Auburn's pretty much not going to a bowl game. They'd have to win 3 straight, including 2 ranked games against SEC teams. And it's just very concerning that it's gotten to this point. In a year where Hugh Freeze took more control, they actually got worse from his first season.
Let's play the worst case scenario. You get the bye week. You beat a Louisiana Monroe team that has improved this year. You lose to Texas A&M. You lose to Alabama. What does that do for Hugh Freeze? Is there any realm, because now you're starting to hear this, and I don't agree with it, but as far as the possibility of replacing Hugh Freeze for the people that matter, how much have those conversations kind of ramped up in some of those back rooms here late in the season, and especially, Nathan, after Saturday?
I think in terms of an outlook and the concern level that we just talked about, I think they certainly have increased. But for this season, I'm with you. I would be completely shocked if they make a move. Number one, because I think we've talked about on the show before, like it's different than Gus, and it's different than Harsin in the sense that it was the AD and president who hired this guy. This is their guy. They knew this was going to be a long-term rebuild. Their argument would be to point to the Brian Harsin era and how bad the roster got and the position he put the team in. And that would be their argument for, why things have gone the way they have and why Freeze needs more time to develop the roster and get good recruiting classes in here. And so I believe that's what they're going to continue to let him do. Look, if they didn't have currently the number 5 recruiting class in the country, I think some more moves down the stretch could get them to like the number 3 recruiting class in the country. If they didn't have that, maybe we're having a different conversation. But they do, and also they've got a bunch of freshmen on the field right now who are playing, honestly, spectacular on the defensive side of the ball. Their best players on defense are a bunch of 18-year-olds. And so if you're Auburn, you're wanting to see that through, continue to let those guys develop, bring in a quarterback in the future potentially, and Deuce Knight, give your number 5 quarterback recruit in the country last year, Walker White, give him an opportunity next season. I would be completely shocked if they do something at the end of this season. But as I'm sure you guys have talked about a lot, it ramps up the pressure for year 3, and I don't think Hugh Freeze necessarily expected to be in a position where people were talking about his seat getting warm in the third year at Auburn.
Yeah, and I pointed this out a minute, and this is not being argumentative towards you at all, Nathan. This is just the fact of covering him at Ole Miss and now covering him at Auburn for the 5th time in 7 years as an SEC head coach, including both years at Auburn. Freeze will not have a winning SEC record. Where is the proof in the pudding that he is going to be able, even when he has a top 5 recruiting class, got a pretty good wide receiver out there that he only targeted 4 times on Saturday? Where is the level of thought process that he is going to be able to turn this around?
It all goes back to recruiting. I think that's where you stand. Your fact there about 5 of the last 7 seasons was absolutely a valid concern with his hire, right? It was something that you could certainly point to, and like you said, it's not necessarily making an argument one way or another. It's just pointing to facts. Every coach that you were going to hire, or that you had the potential to hire, was going to have some drawbacks. And you look at that one for Hugh Freeze, and a pretty significant one was that he only had maybe a season and a half that was necessarily substantial at Ole Miss, and everything else has been sort of subpar or done at Liberty, a Group of Five school. And so, I mean, it does obviously raise a lot of concerns, the fact that you have to orchestrate a turnaround that hasn't been done necessarily in his career, or that hasn't been replicated in his career is probably the better way to put it, besides, like we talked about, a season or a season and a half at Ole Miss. And so, look, I think the biggest thing from Saturday, besides what we talked about before, sort of an accumulation of their problems, was I think it sort of opened up a lot of questions about in-game coaching. And I don't think I'm necessarily being far-fetched to point that out, but you had the timeout that was very, very questionable, and that Hugh Freeze admitted was just a lack of almost understanding of the situation of the game, calling a timeout with 2:01 left when they were going to go to the 2-minute warning. You had a situation where Jarquez Hunter ran for 278 last week. All of a sudden, he can't get the ball in a game. And then you have a situation where late in the game, they trot out a kicker who's 5 of 11 on the season for a 52-yard field goal on 4th and 2, right? I mean, it's just a lot of really questionable decisions. And I think it's something that, again, if you're going to have criticisms of Hugh Freeze, you've probably been pointing to those kinds of things for a few years now.
Yeah, and I realize the recruiting, and if that's what you're basing everything on, that's wonderful and that's all good. But that's my biggest concern with Hugh Freeze is in-game coaching, and even getting away with some of these like "what are you doing" type calls. We saw it in Lexington, Nathan. It didn't come back to bite them as far as losing a football game, but before halftime and calling the timeout when you did, and whether Peyton Thorne stood in the pocket too long or whatever, you've got to keep your guys out of those situations. And it seems like there's been countless times where Hugh Freeze just appears to be asleep at the wheel in critical moments in ball games.
Yeah, I mean, it's valid. Those kinds of things are valid. It's something that, and look, if you're an Auburn fan, you're obviously hoping things turn around. You're obviously hoping your program wins football games. Like, that's, nobody is hoping against that. But it does, when you are sitting at a point where you have Auburn's record right now, and you have done what they've done in SEC play, there's going to be a lot of valid concerns. And again, his in-game coaching is a lot of that. It leads us to another conversation about what kind of decisions are you going to make in the offseason? What kind of decisions are you going to make about this offense? He got asked after the game about, play calling, whether that was going to be something he thought about changing late this season. I wouldn't necessarily expect that to be the case in 2024, but does he go out and change the offense again? Does he hire a different OC? Obviously, there's a lot of stuff on the table when you're sitting at 3-6. You've got a lot of things to work on.
Nathan King joins us from Auburn Undercover here on Reaction Monday here on Three Man Front. Now, listen, you're there and you're able to watch all 22. You're able to watch players as they go to the sideline. Us from afar, we've only got a very short window to see how players are reacting. And I want to ask you about Jarquez Hunter, because I believe it was after the game in which Hugh Freeze was said that Hunter looked gassed later in the game. I guess he was implying that that's why Jarquez Hunter did not get a workload of carries there late in the second half. Did he look gassed to you? Was there a problem with Jarquez Hunter that the rest of us was unaware of?
I don't think so. And a lot of people I've talked to after the game didn't necessarily understand the context of that. I mean, I personally got a little more confused after the game than I was previously. I think the thing to point to that Hugh Freeze said was, well, there were a lot of situations where they didn't want to run the ball, and what Vanderbilt was doing was taking away some of the run game, and they felt like, especially once they were trailing, that they wanted to be in a position to throw the ball. I think all of that, you can say one thing or another about wanting to get your best player the ball, and that's obviously a good argument, but I think that stuff is a little bit more sound than saying he was gassed. I don't necessarily think that was the case. Peyton Thorne seemed very confused when we brought it up to him after the game, saying I didn't think Jarquez was hurt, or I didn't know he was hurt. He's like, I'm gonna have to go ask him about that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's one of those few things from this game that you come back and you kind of scratch your head about. I don't know about performances over the years for running backs who go for 250 plus and what they look like the next week, but A big thing too is that he went for 15 yards on the first play of the game, and then had 35 yards the rest of the way. And so it was just a significant drop off for a guy that obviously had such a fantastic game last week.
Nathan, as we turn the page to next season, so you go 6-7 in year one. Season 2, they're staring dead at 4-8. Let's be honest, maybe 5-7 at best. Then you're talking about potentially bringing in a true freshman quarterback. Maybe you go in the portal and you pay big money for an experienced guy, where at this point, if you're an experienced guy and you're demanding big money, I don't know why you would want to hinge what you've seen in the first 2 years from this offense, your final game tape or year of tape, being associated with that program. But what are the expectations as we look ahead to year 3? If we're going wins and losses, what should they be? Because it seems like you've kind of set the bar back this year, and now you have even more inexperience coming back at quarterback.
Yeah, it's tough to say right now. Some people were talking about that on our board this morning. Every season, goes a different way, and not all 7-5s are made the same, but I think the biggest thing will be improving this offense. The biggest thing will be getting good quarterback play. It does feel like, though, if you're below 7-5 next year, just from a baseline, that feels like a really dicey situation, because that probably informs. So if you go 6-6, that informs that you are probably in November wondering if you're going to make a bowl game, right? Like, you've got games left to win, wondering if you're going to get to 6 wins, wondering if you're going to have a 5th straight losing season. That would probably be pretty bad. That would probably have this team in a bad spot. 7 or 8 wins, again, you just wonder about recruiting. You wonder about where that's heading. You wonder about quarterback play, whether he can make some decisions in the offseason that will improve this offense. If all of those things are going in the right direction, they win 7 or 8 games. Again, some people don't like to hear it, but I truly believe they knew this was going to be a long-term rebuild. Again, that's a long time from now. We'll see where we're at, but to me, it feels like 7 or 8 wins next year. Probably he's okay, especially if other stuff is going in the right direction.
That is Nathan King, joins us here on 3-Man Front on Reaction Monday. Well, Nathan, enjoy the off week. I know practice will be back in session. You'll be covering a lot of things.
Hell, enjoy basketball.
Well, I was about to say, you got Vermont coming up on Wednesday, and I know you got a chance to watch this basketball team exhibition-wise, and it appears that they will be as good as advertised.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they didn't really have much of an issue with their 2 exhibition opponents. Got to show off some different strengths. They were better defensively against Furman, better offensively against FAU. They've still got some question marks, though. Even when you're a top 10 team in the country, their point guard situation is really interesting. The freshman Tahad Pettiford, I think he can make some noise in that rotation. JP McGee's the Furman transfer. I think they thought he was going to be a sure thing. And so far, maybe that hasn't been the case. Vermont is a good team. I believe they're top 100 in Ken Palm. They were in the tournament last year. I mean, I think Auburn's going to win and probably win handily on Wednesday, but it's a decent test. And then, Saturday against Houston at Toyota Center is going to be one of the biggest games of the entire non-conference slate in college basketball.
Nathan, always great stuff. And for Auburn fans, at least you've got a basketball program that's on solid ground, and you're trusting your head coach heading into the season. So that's always a positive. Nathan, we appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Nathan King, Auburn Undercover, joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
Interesting comments from Nathan King. We'll go over those and continue to take your phone calls as the calls continue to pour in on this Reaction Monday. 1-800-239-WJOX. It is 10:52, Jocks 94.5 on this Reaction Monday. We will continue to take your phone calls. I want to tell you about Goals to Tree Service, 205-337-4018. Do something about that tree before it falls on your house. We got some heavy winds coming up the next couple days, chance of rain towards the weekend, and that's going to mean potentially some downed trees on your property or on your house. So you need to call Goals to Tree Service, 205-337-4018. Best part about it, whether it's just trimming or tree removal, they can take care of all those things on your property. They have 24-hour emergency storm work, so do not wait any longer. Call Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4018.
We continue with your phone calls. AJ is listening on the Jocks 94.5 app in Florida. He wants to talk about Hugh Freeze. AJ, welcome in.
Hey, guys. It makes me think you never really know what you're watching when you're watching it. And I think back to 2014 and 2015, those Bama Ole Miss games that Hugh Freeze won, and I really think about them, and I think it was 9 turnovers Bama had in those two. I know we had 5 in 2015. That ridiculous play where Chad Kelly just throws the ball in the air and somehow it bounces off a guy's helmet and Ole Miss scores a touchdown. And then I think of 2014, we fumble a kickoff and late in the game, and Ole Miss kind of, they both win close games. And Hugh Freeze got a lot of credit for that. You don't really think about it at the time, but guys, did Hugh Freeze make $40 million in those 8 hours in those 2 games?
No doubt.
I think he did.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And you guys just said it. Y'all laid it out more eloquently than I could. But he hasn't done anything.
Nope.
He's had two winning seasons and
In SEC play.
And it's like we
Correct.
Yeah, we sort of knew it. But we didn't really know it. But are you telling me it really was just those 2 games against Alabama? Apparently it was.
Even with this roster, AJ, this season and some of the games that they've lost, even bad coaches just, through dumb luck, sun shines on a dog's butt every now and then. You find a way to win a game despite your boneheaded decisions. He hasn't been able to do that. It's still the best win that he has had was week 2 in his first season at Auburn at Berkeley playing a Cal team in a game they won 14-10. That's the best team he's beaten.
Yeah. Have you guys seen what's going on with Bo Wallace on Twitter?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We follow that saga.
So, Auburn fans, and I get it. Auburn fans are all over the guy. But, you think about what Bo Wallace is saying, and then I listen to Hugh Freeze. What running back wants to have his head coach tell the media that he was gassed? I don't. That's an insult. You're not supposed to be gassed in a football game, especially when you don't even get that many carries. So I don't know. It's starting to kind of all add up to exactly what it looks like, which is what it is. And all I want for Christmas is just for Alabama to be able to play the version of Auburn that everybody else gets to play. I'm so tired of we go play Auburn and it's the Green Bay Packers, and that's what it is when we play them in Jordan Hare.
Right.
But I want to play this version of Auburn. That's what I want for Christmas. So,
AJ, thank you. We appreciate the phone call.
Here's another fun stat for you. In his last 22 SEC games as a head coach, Hugh Freeze is 6-16.
That's not good. Let's go to Don quickly. Don, what's up?
Hey, guys. How y'all doing today?
Doing okay.
Well, guys, everything that y'all said this morning and all the callers have said is absolutely true. And me and Conrad and Damien talked about this morning. If Hunter is gassed, why do you put him back in there and throw the ball to him 4 straight times?
Great question.
I mean, that comment made no sense to me. And everything, I mean, I'm a little frustrated today, as you can tell, and every Auburn fan that I know is frustrated. But basketball starts Wednesday night, and real quickly, guys, I'm gonna be a little late tomorrow, so PG is gonna be in charge first hour of the show.
Okay. Well, Don, we appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you. All of our friends at Social Taco tomorrow as we broadcast from 10 until 2. We continue Reaction Monday. Keep the phone calls and the text rolling in.
It is 11 o'clock, already a very busy Reaction Monday. 1-800-239-WJOX. That's the phone number. The Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. The dominated conversation has been Auburn's loss to Vanderbilt 17-7. Auburn closes a 9-point favorite in that game on Saturday. We've already talked to Nathan King. If you missed that interview, go back and download the Three Man Front podcast. He had some very interesting things to say about the future of this program, including Hugh Freeze's potential hot seat moving into next year. Needless to say, SEC Michael Bratton was pretty happy on social media this weekend. He was texting me and obviously retweeting a couple of audiograms that we have sent out of some of his interview segments on the show, because he was one of the first people to absolutely just bash Hugh Freeze in the preseason for not going and finding a quarterback in the transfer portal. So we will continue to take your calls and your texts here on Reaction Monday.
My question would be, are you completely convinced if you had gotten a better quarterback than Peyton Thorne that you would be markedly better right now?
Based on the play calling and based on the lack of use of Jarquez Hunter or Cam Coleman, the answer would be no.
No, that opens up room for a lot of questions. Even if you did have somebody who was more skilled and more talented, and there are definitely those guys out there than Peyton Thorne, but this is not all on Peyton Thorne. How about our friends at Mystic Beverage? You hear that? That is the Lift Blend.
Is that Mystic Beverage or something else?
That's Mystic Beverage. Something else might be tomorrow. Featuring CBD, CBG, Delta 9, and the green coffee bean extract that boosts both body and mind. Whether it's a Lift Blend, if you want to stay focused, you got a lot of tasks that you still need to perform, especially late in the day, or the High Hills Delta 9, the Nirvanic. The alcohol alternative that they offer, Mystic Beverage, made in Blount County, Alabama. They're available at your local Piggly Wiggly. Check them out at mysticbeverage.com. You're going to be glad you did.
So you remember the other day on Pat Ponders when I asked you guys what you thought Diego Pavia, what his total yardage would be, both passing and remember rushing?
Yeah.
Most of you guys took the over.
I took the under.
You took the under?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I took the over.
So if you went into the game and you said, you know what, Diego Pavia is going to be held to 9 of 22 passing for 143 yards, and you know what, he's not going to really hurt you on his feet because he only had 26 yards rushing, you'd feel pretty good, right?
Yes.
I'd have thought Auburn won by double digits.
No
probably.
doubt. No question about it. Well, instead, those are the numbers Pavia put up. Only 227 total yards of offense for Vandy's offense, but they got to win. This is Diego Pavia post-game after the Auburn win.
A lot of people didn't take a chance on me. You know, they're just another team that didn't. And so I just want to, make them pay for what they did. Like, they thought I got lucky. Like, you heard, like, what they were saying in the interviews. Like, they thought I got lucky last time I was here. So just to prove it twice, I'm that type of guy, just come out, give it all I got on Saturdays. And so today was an ugly win, but, we found a way to win.
Did they talk to you in the transfer portal? Did they offer you, or they just kind of
Nope, they didn't talk to me. Coach Lazinski, actually our linebackers coach, talked about it, like they didn't want none of us out of the portal. You know what I mean? They basically told all of us, like, you ain't good enough. So that's a chip on the shoulder. That's what we lead with, and so we're just ready to come out every Saturday and come compete.
Hugh Freeze now 0-3 lifetime against Diego Pavia. I would suppose that would be the final time that Hugh Freeze will will face off with Diego Pavia.
Potentially in a UFL one day.
Maybe, perhaps. So he was pretty happy after the game. Some of the Vandy, I mean, I never thought, Landrum, that I would be in this business long enough to see Vandy players being obnoxious, dancing at midfield and doing social media posts of like dog cussing an Auburn or Alabama football team.
Yeah.
Like I saw Saturday at Jordan-Hare.
I was about to say, you had the Vanderbilt player that shared the lovely text message he got from one of the Auburn coaches on Christmas Day a couple of years ago. It was, they were,
I'm just not used
all
to
the
this side
receipts,
of
they were
Vandy.
letting them fly.
I'm not used to this.
No, and this was a must-win game for them when you look at the rest of their schedule. Not saying they can't, but they felt like this was their best opportunity. When we talked to Weinstein last week, who covers the Commodores, he said, no, this is absolutely the game they've circled and they put the emphasis on because they feel like they match up better with Auburn than they do even with South Carolina coming at home and the rest of that schedule. And congratulations to Clark Lee and that squad for getting bowl eligible. It's a heck of an accomplishment, and they deserve it. And they have played a gauntlet of a schedule, and they have done what counts, and that is win football games, and that's how you're judged.
Well, I know, obviously, I'm in a studio doing the UAB stuff, so I've got monitors on everywhere. You're on site, so I know it's difficult for you to see this stuff, but post game and seeing Clark Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing him hold his son up and just the very laid back nature of, like, you know what? It was a lot different than the Alabama win. It was more like they have now officially bought in that they are a good football team, and that beating Auburn was not something that they went in and said, okay, we'll be fortunate if we can eke out a win, kick a field goal in the last second and upset Auburn. It was pretty much like, you know what? We have the confidence now.
We've been here before.
Yeah, not being arrogant. It was just Clark Lee was just very matter of fact about the win, but not a matter of fact in a bad, ugly type of way.
No, that's well said. Let's go to Greg in Russellville. He wants to talk about Auburn. Greg, what's up?
Good morning, man.
Good morning.
Hey, I was going to talk about a little bit about that. Of course, I'm an Alabama fan. My fiance is an Auburn fan. And I have to make her watch Auburn right now, but she didn't Vanderbilt have their number one running back out, and the quarterback played hurt.
I'm sorry, say that again, Greg.
Didn't Vanderbilt's starting tailback not get to play because he was out hurt, and then the quarterback was banged up and didn't get to play like he normally does?
Well, their number one running back, he was limited. You know, he started with a knee brace on.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I missed that part. I missed the beginning of the game. But anyway, I just knew they was kind of playing banged up a little bit. And I tell you what, looking over the weekend too, this is just extra, but some of these coaches, I mean, this having the way the NIL is and everything now, that's a lot of pressure on a lot of these, because like this year, I don't really see any teams that really stand out. I mean, there's not any Alabama, Georgia teams from the past. None of these teams look like any of them. I mean, everybody's kind of come back to the same spot. And, you know, you may get NIL players that work out and you may not. With these, you know, especially transfers like Florida State. I mean, look where they went from last year to this year. You know, depending on all them transfers, they may or may not work. So I still think teams need to have 90% high school players to make sure you have a good jail on the team.
Well, one thing's for sure, and I think you're going to see it tomorrow night with the first CFP 12-team rankings.
Thanks, Greg.
That there's a lot of ball that's going to decide stuff over the last 3 weeks. I mean, it's not something that in the past you could say, well, you can automatically say that Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, and maybe an outlier are going to be the four top teams that potentially can win the national championship. This year, I think it's more wide open than ever before, just because Oregon, think about this, Oregon for the first time in 4 years was the unanimous number one team in the polls yesterday. It's been 4 years since you've had a unanimous number one team in America. And I think this year, even Oregon, based on what you saw against Michigan over the weekend, they've got warts. I know that they're looking really good right now, but still, I think there's plenty of teams that could potentially hoist the national championship.
It could always be worse, because he mentioned Florida State, but Florida State has one win, and it was over the team that beat you in Jordan-Hare Stadium in the Cal Bears. So I don't know how much that really gives you solace if you're an Auburn fan.
Yeah.
Let's continue with the phone calls. Let's go to Jeff. He's in Pell City. Jeff, welcome in.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, I just wanted to comment on Hugh Freeze, and I hate to say it, but does it not appear to some people like it does me? He's coaching to lose so that they will fire him and he gets the big buyout as well?
No.
Just looks kind of odd to me.
And it's bad if it looks that way to you and you're starting to buy into it. That's not an indictment on you. That's him coaching this season. But I think it is becoming apparent to some that they don't trust him on the sidelines and running a team for 60 minutes.
Well, that goes to the comment from an earlier caller about, Jarquez Hunter getting 12 carries. I mean, how could the man be gassed when last week he ran for 278 yards over the span of an hour?
And did a standing backflip when the final horn sounded and said that he could have gone for more.
Oh, yeah. So where in the world does anybody like Coach Freeze get a right to call a man gassed when he has no clue? But that's my comments, guys.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day, and appreciate the show. It's great.
Thank you very
Jeff.
much. I do want to address Hugh Freeze buyout. So just remember this number. If they were to decide at the end of the year, you know what, this just is not going to work out, it's $20.3 million. Okay, now, Auburn was very smart when they constructed his contract. Because if you remember, when Gus Malzahn was fired, they had to pay him $21.5 million. When Brian Harsin was fired, they had to pay him $15.6 million. Those contracts obligated Auburn to pay their former coach half of their buyout within 30 days. That is not the case with Hugh Freeze. He is owed $20.3 million, but Auburn could spread its financial obligations to him through monthly payments for the life of the contract. So in other words, you don't have to pay him the $20.3 million to tell him to go away, but you would be on the hook for about $4.9 million a year until the contract ends in 2028. So Auburn was smart in regards to constructing that contract where they would not be saddled with half of the contracts like they did with Gus Malzahn and Brian Harsin to the tune of about $22 million combined that they had to pay within 30 days of getting rid of him.
I'm not saying that they're going to get rid of him this year, but if it comes next year, as you're saying, at the end of the season, then
they don't have to.
Yeah, you're not going to have to pony up all of that money where you're cash strapped, at least for the time being. We'll continue with your phone calls, 800-239-WJOX. Let's go to Chris. Chris, what's up?
Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Doing okay. How are you?
Come to say some music. Yeah, our picks went awry, but I'm still out of Kentucky saying they can beat Texas. I believe in boys.
Okay.
Just like I believed in Vanderbilt. and all of a sudden, everybody's just behind them now. So I'm sticking with my gut punch, thinking they can still win the last three.
All right. Well, Chris, we appreciate the phone call. And yeah, he had Kentucky upsetting Tennessee on Saturday, but that didn't happen. It was a tighter game than I thought it was going to be. It covered.
And for the first time in a month, Tennessee actually scored a point in the first half.
Yeah, they did do that. It was not pretty, but hey, a win's a win.
Sampson sets a record, the most rushing touchdowns in a season by a Tennessee Volunteer.
Very impressive.
They've been playing football for a long time on Rocky Top. For him to do that, that's impressive.
We'll continue. It's Reaction Monday, and a lot of either Auburn fans or just fans of other schools that are witnessing what has been a debacle for Auburn football this season and trying to diagnose what exactly the problem is, where exactly Auburn turns, and can Hugh Freeze turn this thing around? 800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450 on the Jocks text line. Reaction Monday rolls on. Three-man front and Jocks, 94.5.
It's a Reaction Monday here on Three Man Fun. A reminder, we will be at Social Taco tomorrow from 10 until 2. I know it's a busy day. Hopefully you'll get a chance to go vote, come by, see us there at Social Taco, have lunch, enjoy the frivolity that is Tuesdays at Social Taco.
Well, a great place for food of all varieties is Big Whiskey's there in Hoover. They have a full menu for you ranging from appetizers, salads, to burgers and steaks. So whatever you're looking for your lunch needs today, head on over to Big Whiskey's. They also have a bar featuring unique cocktails, over 120 whiskeys on tap, and of course, plenty of screens to catch all of the games. And you can let Big Whiskey's do the work for you this holiday season, whether it's a personal or business event. Let them cater for you. Any party, any size, they will have you covered there at Big Whiskey's. Go visit them at Stadium Trace Village off of Highway 150 near the Hoover Met.
We continue with Reaction Monday here on the show. We'll get back to the phones. Chuck wants to chime in on Auburn. Chuck, welcome into Three Man Front.
Hey, guys, I think most people would agree that of all the Power 4 schools, that Florida State is the most underachieving this year, you know, relative to how they reviewed coming into the year. And I didn't call to talk about that, but they're obviously number one. But I'm not sure that Auburn isn't scrapping for the number 2 spot when you look at all 4 of those big conferences.
Yeah, without doing a deep dive and kind of going through this exercise, I would say that Auburn's certainly got to be in the conversation. Yeah, Florida State's going to be number 1 based on what people thought they had coming back and coming in.
Good question, because you don't want Florida State in it. You know, hey, Florida State's the worst, and then pick Auburn and 3 others from around the country from Power 4 and go, who's the second most under? I'm just saying they're in the run for. They got to quit getting rid of all these coaches, but I guess they do have to because they don't want to keep losing. They're going to have like a payroll department, you know, English department, 37 professors, math department, 22. They have a whole separate payroll department, ex-football coaches, and we have 6 or 7 of them in there. Anyway, hey, enjoy the show, you guys. Enjoy it.
Chuck, thank you. We appreciate it. Text line is open as well, 205-834-9450. We take you there now, and this one rolls in. I'm a grad student at Auburn. I'm absolutely dumbfounded with the football that I've seen the past 5 years. Given the support from our boosters and fans, the product on the field is inexcusable. We may have a top recruiting class for next year, but I have no faith in these guys will be put in position to win given the mismanagement of Jarquez Hunter. Hope for Auburn football is an all-time low, and many students, including me, have returned our tickets for the remaining games.
Oh, that'll be a very bad look.
Oh.
Because it didn't look like it was a sellout on Saturday against Vanderbilt.
No, and that's kind of one thing you've always been able to hang your hat on, right? Is the people are going to show up and they're going to support the team even in bad times. But
listen, if you're an Auburn student and Hugh Freeze is 1-6 in his last 7 SEC home games, why would you go?
Anthony, an optimistic Auburn fan, I think this is a great text. He says, what does a rebuild have to do with bad on-field coaching decisions? That is a wonderful question. It has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Nope. And you can look at other teams and say similar thing. I mean,
I'm sorry to keep saying it, but let's compare the talent at Auburn to what Curt Cignetti inherited and has at Indiana right now.
About to say, who's got more talent on their rosters, Auburn or Indiana or BYU? Like, I think we all know it's Auburn.
So think about this. I'm glad you mentioned that. Indiana has been playing football since 1887. Okay, 1887.
Long time.
In its first 136 years, the Hoosiers never started a season 9-0. Now in their 137th year of football, Curt Cignetti's first year in Bloomington, they're a perfect 9-0, and not only are they a perfect 9-0, but all 9 wins have come by at least 14 points or more.
I think we can look at somewhere like Colorado too. How bad was Colorado, and how bad was that situation last year? And we all made fun of Colorado, and they were bad again last year. No one's really laughing at them now.
Well,
Took you 2 years.
For the folks that say Hugh Freeze has to have superior talent to win, I would counter that with saying in some of these losses he's had superior talent, at least equal to. And now it's going to be tougher and tougher to have that with college football, the portal, NIL, And that's across the board. That's not just an Auburn problem moving forward. But
a couple of quick items on some players that are hurt. Good news out of Florida. According to Billy Napier, he just announced this at his press conference that it appears that Lagway's injury is not as significant as they thought, and he said that there is a pathway to his recovery. So it sounds like perhaps he is not done for the year. Also, Dylan Raiola, he is expected to be healthy to return for Nebraska's next game, which is coming up not this weekend, but the following weekend against USC on November 16th. Remember, he had some back issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he fell to the ground at the back end of the UCLA game.
Having to put the entire team on his back?
I guess so. But apparently he is going to be okay. And according to Matt Rule, he should be able to start coming up against USC.
Christian texts in and says, Freeze's excuse for not letting Hunter run the ball more in the second half showed me he is absolutely clueless. Yolanda Richardson text, it's hard to believe Hugh Freeze has a worse record than Brian Harsin. John says, Freeze said that Hunter was gassed second half, but he had 2 carries for 16 yards, 3 catches for 21 yards. Didn't seem gassed to me. Another episode of throw a kid under the bus instead of admitting he called a bad game.
You also have other running backs on the roster that are pretty good if you need somebody to take a break. Hand it off to Alston. Like, you have other options in the running game as well.
This one rolling in. Guys, bottom line is Hugh Freeze is a pathetic liar and a poor excuse for a head football coach. Everyone has talked about it ad nauseum, but any one of us would have had a better record at AU right now as a head coach. Just hand the ball off to Hunter and occasionally passed it and play action. It's ridiculous. It's asinine. I don't know what else to say. You said a lot right there. Apparently, there were chants in the stadium, Freeze out on Saturday.
Let's hear
Not
what
the good kind of freeze out. Like Freeze needs to be out.
All right, he was asked after the game. We'll play the very first part of this, Conrad. This is what he said when asked if he heard the boos at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah, I didn't hear any. I don't hear that, but
okay, there you go.
Okay,
he didn't hear it.
Maybe it's better. But now you know that it's going on. Does that help you?
I mean, do you think that really? I'm just being completely honest here. Do you think it bothers any coach? I mean, first off, you saw James Franklin act like an idiot.
Yeah.
After the game, you've got a viral clip going on at what happened at Doak Campbell Stadium this weekend. Did you see that? Where the fan is literally. I mean, first off, there was nobody at Doak Campbell Stadium. I don't know what the announced attendance was. I know they're doing construction before FSU. Dave texted me. I understand that. But it was a very, very poorly attended game for even a team that's only won one game. Anyway, this guy is just leaning over the railing, and there's like a police officer 5 feet away. And I mean, this guy is going crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, he is literally like probably, I don't know, 50 feet away from the FSU bench. And he's just railing on him. And the cop just stands there just like looking, kind of smiling, kind of like, you know what? Have at it, man.
But to answer your question, no, I don't think it does bother a lot of these coaches. Because
No.
at the end of the day, you've got $21 million. If they want to get rid of you tomorrow, that's going to be paid out. You'll get nice mailbox money. You can go and play golf as much as you want to.
Apparently, Hugh Freeze liked to play a lot of golf at Liberty. Maybe Auburn should let him go play more golf as preparing for these opponents instead of sitting in the film room, coming up with these great offensive game plans.
I'd say it couldn't be a whole lot worse.
No, let him go play golf. That's all he did at Liberty.
The text, this text reads, the humble Hugh voice is played out. I agree. I mean, what can you say at this point? Got to be better.
And it doesn't help when I think some of the question or the answers that he gives to questions after games are just case in point. Jarquez Hunter was tired. I think everyone could watch that football game and say, okay, you're lying through your teeth. Just say, hey, we should have given him the ball more. Not saying that's going to make people happier, but It's not a lie.
This one going back to my comment that I made it on the show, and this is how I felt back when Hugh Freeze was at Ole Miss. I always viewed him as a poor man's Gus Malzahn. And this listener really liked it. Laughing, crying emojis. This one rolls in. Freeze is a complete joke of a game planner and in-game coach. Look at his decision-making at critical times in every game they have played, and they're head-scratching. WDE. Tom says, at least Auburn, not Mississippi State. They played better than Georgia and Bama. I should have pre-read that one. Sorry, guys, that I had to waste your time with reading that. Jamie in Alex City says Auburn University, where coaches go to retire and only have to work 2 to 3 years. Pretty sweet gig.
Yeah.
Auburn Stadium speakers played Twisted Sister. We're not going to take it late in the fourth quarter. Clear message to Hugh Freeze. Also, Roll Tide. Dan and Madison. I don't know. I didn't really think about it that way. I like that song. It's your old buddy, D. Snyder.
Oh, yeah. Good OD.
That's why we led the show off with it.
Keep the text rolling in. 800-239-WJOX. 205-834-9450. Kalen DeBoer, his weekly press conference coming up at the top of the hour as he previews the game in Red Stick, Alabama and LSU. Reaction Monday continues. 3-man front and Jocks, 94.5. Reaction Monday. We roll on. Another disappointing loss for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers Saturday, 17-7, despite the defense, DJ Durkin's group, continuing to get better, it seems, as the season rolls on. Individual players growing. maturation process taking place. The other side of the ball, the offense, a lot of head scratching going on there. A lot of head scratching with Auburn fans in the direction of this program under one Hugh Freeze. You're not going to be scratching your head, though, when you go to Dobbs Ford. It's the newest Ford dealership in town. It's right there on Parkway East. Had a chance for the last 2 weeks to drive one of the Dobbs Edition Broncos, and it's souped up, and it's got all the bells and whistles. It also has the fog lights on top. It's got the soft top that you can roll back, whether you want to part way roll it back or just go completely topless. It's awesome. That's right, Pat. Completely topless with that Bronco. But it's not just the Broncos. It's the F-150s, the Explorers, the Mustangs, a great selection. But I tell you all the time, the reason to go to Dobbs Ford is the people. The Goshen family, Joey and Rachel, their son Austin, everyone there at Dobbs Ford, they reflect values. And whether you ever buy a vehicle there, you're going to appreciate the customer experience. Dobbs Ford, DobbsFordBirmingham.com. That's DobbsFordBirmingham.com. Total transparency, beat any competitor's price. DobbsFordBirmingham.com. When you go there, tell them Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
So a couple items from the Southeastern Conference. Don't you love the Friday news drop in which the SEC announced that they're going to hand out fine suspensions on fake injuries? So as you go into the weekend of SEC play on Friday, Commissioner Greg Sankey warned the league, the football coaches, and the athletics directors that directing players to feign injury in order to stop the clock could result in penalties, including fines and suspensions. In a memo, Sankey laid out a following penalty structure if it is determined that it is most likely than not a fake injury had occurred. The first offense, $50,000 fine. Second offense, $100,000 fine. Third offense, public reprimand and 1 game suspension for the head coach for the third offense. I wonder if this is going to work out as well as the field storming policy that the SEC released. I mean, that thing's a freaking joke.
Yeah, South Carolina seems really upset about that after Saturday.
I don't understand what that says. Does it say how they're going to decipher if the injury is fake?
It will be determined by the National Coordinator for Football Officiating, Steve Shaw.
Okay.
He's going to look at the post-game video.
Yeah, people aren't going to have a problem with that at all.
And then he finished the memo by saying, play football and stop the feigned injury nonsense.
But Steve Shaw is going to be able to tell you if late in a ball game, I went down and I had a cramp and I could not continue and I needed help.
You better make it look bad, Landry.
But he's going to be the decision maker on whether that was a legitimate cramp or in. Okay.
Just like tomorrow night when somebody asked Ward Manuel about the strength of schedule in determining why Notre Dame is ranked ahead of Indiana, he is going to say, well, we're not eligible to share that information with you because we're paying an outside source to give us data that is proprietary, and I can't share that information. Well, I guess Steve Shaw, he will look at the post-game video. Now, if teams have a problem with his ruling, they can challenge it, but you must submit a clear medical information to obviously go against what Steve Shaw is going to rule.
Okay.
Like I said, I wonder if this is going to deter teams like the field storming, because South Carolina, they stormed the field after their win against Texas A&M on Saturday night. And yesterday afternoon, they were fined $250,000 for storming the field because this is actually their second offense. Their first offense happened during the basketball season.
I'll tell you what, if you watch that game from when they came out of the tunnel to the LEDs, that crowd at Williams-Brice, Sandstorm, and then from the first, like the opening kickoff, the intensity that South Carolina played with, they played absolutely mad at the world, hurt anybody who is not wearing a black jersey. I'm going to say in a good way. That was so much fun to watch that team, and it didn't matter if it was a quarterback. It didn't matter if it was a cornerback coming up on the edge to make a tackle. It was like it was every one of those guys last time they were ever going to be able to play football, and they laid it all out. That was so inspiring to watch. South Carolina looked fantastic on Saturday.
Oh, they did to Texas A&M what Texas A&M did to Missouri a few weeks ago. Just when you watch those, I mean, those are two of the most dominating performances I had seen all year. But I mean, like you're saying, I mean, whether it was Lenora Sellers just running people over, Rocket Sanders looked like, I mean, prime Arkansas Rocket Sanders from a couple of years ago. Like that was a team that was prepared to the max, and they went out there and they laid it all. I was just so impressed, especially with how good Texas A&M had looked recently. And, you know, we've seen South Carolina look good at times, but this was the best they've looked all year for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned Sanders. He had 236 yards of offense, 2 touchdowns. Sellers, 244 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He also added 106 yards rushing, and their tight end, Joshua Simon, 132 receiving yards. Think about this stat. So South Carolina had 53 plays going into the game that went 10-plus yards, okay? 53. They had 14 against Texas A&M the other night. That was amazing. That went 10-plus yards. They outscored the Aggies 24-0 in the second half. It was the first South Carolina win versus a ranked opponent since defeating Clemson back in 2022. So it's been a minute, but that was a huge signature win for Shane Beamer.
Yeah, it was. 800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450. Brandon says Auburn just needs to try making a defensive-minded coach as head coach, hire T-Rob and change it up. You got T-Rob, you got John Summerall at Tulane. Somebody's going to grab him. But not saying that Auburn's going to make a change this season. Now, maybe a loss is, Pat pointed out, to ULM.
I mean, you lose to that. You lose to ULM, and no offense to Bryant Benson, and that team has come a long way this year. But if you lose at home to him in that program, and not taking anything away from Brian, I'm just saying that you should be you just lost to Vanderbilt. You're a 9-point favorite at home against Vanderbilt, and you lost by 10.
Which we were questioning the line all week, but the fact that it ballooned to 9.
9 o'clock. 9 points at kickoff.
That's crazy. Let's go to Anthony. He's an Auburn fan. Anthony, how optimistic are you with Hugh Freeze as your head coach?
Man, I'm trying to be. I promise you, I'm trying to be. But he doesn't help that optimism. But I know earlier you guys were talking about Peyton Thorne, and you know, my whole thing with Peyton Thorne is, you know, Hugh hitched his wagon to him, and this whole season, if you listen back to Hugh's press conferences, every game he's talking about trimming down the offense, dumbing the offense down, making it simpler, and everything like that. And to me, that's kind of crazy that you have to do that for a 4-year starting quarterback. That you have to coach around this guy so that you won't lose games or you won't put him in a position where you think he'll turn it over. Now, I said all that to say that, you know, even with the poor quarterback play, he only gave Hank Brown 2 quarters of SEC play to actually do anything. And, you know, after that 2 quarters was over, he's like back to Peyton Thorne. So my bold prediction is that if Trent Dilfer is retained at UAB, I could really see Hank Brown transferring to UAB. I mean, it makes sense to me.
I have no idea. Anthony, thank you for the phone call. What Hank Brown's aspirations are, and you got another quarterback that just is a 1-game sample size, but Jalen Kitna, there's 25 of 32 and threw for over 400-something yards.
Yeah, he just got named a big national honor
6 touchdowns,
ago,
which broke the FBS record for touchdowns in a game throwing by a quarterback and tied the overall, which was, and Pat, you might have been a part of that broadcast when John Whitcomb did it back in 1993. Were you a part of the broadcast?
I was not part of the broadcast. I was actually, who'd they play?
I can't remember. Maybe like Tennessee Tech or so. You know what? Don't quote me on that. I don't know where I got Tennessee Tech.
I think actually my first UAB broadcast was maybe 1994. But I remember Whitcomb. I was a student with Whitcomb at UAB. He was a good quarterback. Outstanding. Here's the other frustrating part about Hugh Freeze. You look at the improvement, statistically speaking, of the offense. They're about 70 yards better this year than they were last year. that's got to be what's probably keeping Hugh Freeze up at night. Is why you're getting that type of more production, but you're not getting more points. So whether it's your play calling, whether it's the special teams because you're not able to kick field goals with more regularity, but they're 70 yards better a game than they were last year.
26.2 points a game last year on offense. This year, 25.3.
And listen, I've been around a lot of really talented offensive people around the Southeastern Conference, and I'll throw out a stat or something, and they always look at me and they said, it doesn't matter if we average 500 yards a game. It's about how many points you put on the scoreboard. So even with that improvement of 70 yards per game for the Auburn offense, you're scoring less, which that's mind-numbing to think that that's what's happening.
And the one game you won in the SEC, you won at night on the road. And all of your games at Jordan Hare. You've looked like, for the most part, warmed over poo-poo. We continue 3-man front and Jocks 94.5.
Tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
11:48, Jocks 94.5. Top of the hour. We'll hear from Kalen DeBoer. Relatively quiet since their last win after they shut out the Missouri Tigers.
Because they're locked in, Pat.
They're locked in for a nighttime game in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
They're playing that game at night?
Imagine that.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were going to get the 11:30.
And I bet you LSU will be wearing their white jerseys.
Ooh.
Maybe so.
White jersey with the yellow cap.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to go with the all whites again.
No, I don't think so.
Given what happened in College Station. Yeah. Probably don't do that. Well, Kalen DeBoer, his press conference, and when you hear Hugh Freeze in his press conference on Mondays, it's brought to you by Evolve IT. When it comes to your technology, don't settle for anything less than a winning team, and it's your trusted local IT partner in Evolve IT. At Evolve IT, they're your MVPs for all things tech, like network management, cybersecurity, keeping your business systems running smoothly, no fumbles, no downtime, just expert support right here in Birmingham. They're local, unlike a lot of IT management companies that are national. 365, 24/7, something happens, you're going to have a local human being that answers the phone and get your system up and running. Evolve IT online at evolvebhm.com. That's evolvebhm.com, or call 205-749-8970. Evolve IT. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
356. That is the number of basketball games that we played in college basketball today. 356.
I'm playing them all.
Tonight at 6:30, the Catamounts of Vermont. They are in town. They went 28-7 last year. They were champions of the American East. They lost in the first round of the NCAA basketball tournament. They're taking on the UAB Blazers. The Blazers are a 6.5-point favorite at home tonight. They went 23-12 last year. They were the American Athletic Conference champions last year, so they're trying to defend their crown. Then at 8 o'clock tonight, UNC Asheville, who went 22-12 last year, they're taking on the Final Four team, Alabama Crimson Tide. The Tide, they're a 26-point favorite at home, who went 25-12 last year in the Final Four. And then it's interesting because Vermont, they will leave Birmingham and head down to the plains of Auburn to take on the Auburn Tigers for Auburn's first game on Wednesday.
And then Auburn has to travel, and they take on Houston coming up this weekend at the Toyota Center.
Yep.
And there's a little bit of injury news for Alabama tonight. So Latrell Wrightsell, Grant Nelson, and Aiden Sherrill are all expected to get some minutes tonight, but they're expected to come off the bench and kind of ease them in with some injury concerns there. So if you're wondering why Grant Nelson's maybe not in the starting five tonight, he's just a little banged up. So they're, taking it easy on some guys.
So tomorrow night, before most all the polls will be closing across the country, I know many people will be tuned in watching election coverage tomorrow night. You will have the college football playoff first ever rankings to come out. And according to ESPN's FPI, Oregon has a 96% chance of making the college football playoff, followed then by the Miami Hurricanes, who needed a very interesting second half against Duke. They went on quite a run there in Miami to take out the Blue Devils, but they have a 93% chance. Georgia has the best odds of any SEC team at 92% to make the college football playoff. Ohio State's at 91%. Indiana is now up to 87%. The next SEC team coming in with the sixth best percentage is Texas at 78%. Tennessee is seventh best odds at 74%, tied with Penn State. Boise State's up to 71%. BYU 58%. Notre Dame 57.8%. And Alabama is right on the cusp. According to ESPN FBI, they're at number 12, 55.5% chance of making the college football playoff. That's up 3.3% from last week. Now, the biggest gainers, according to ESPN, SMU, they're up to 47% now to make the college football playoff. That's up 18% from the week before. A lot of people are saying SMU could literally steal a bid from Alabama.
I was about to say, if you're Alabama, you're concerned about them getting to the conference title game, beating Miami, and then they both get in.
Yes, that is a realistic concern for Alabama if Bama were to run the table. Ole Miss jumped up 10% They were pretty much left for dead before they went to Fayetteville, and they put on that incredible performance over the weekend. They're up 10% to 29%. Meanwhile, Iowa State, losing at home to Texas Tech, they fell 21%. They're down now to only 24% chance of making the college football playoff. Meanwhile, LSU is still at 22%. So that does not look good for LSU because Texas A&M just lost to South Carolina.
Yes. And I will just say it would be kind of ironic if, so in 2011 or 2012, when you had the game of the century with Alabama LSU and you got the rematch in the national championship, it's because Iowa State beat Oklahoma State and set that up. And now you had Iowa State losing on Saturday,
Yes.
and that could ultimately be the spot that goes to Alabama at the end.
So Army did not have their starting quarterback.
No, that hurt the cover.
Yep, that did hurt the cover, but there's still a 21% chance of making the college football playoff. Texas A&M was the biggest drop of everyone. They fell 27%. The likelihood of them making the college football playoff is now down to 19% as they have New Mexico State, Auburn, and Texas
And
remaining on their schedule.
Going back to SMU, you look at the rest of their schedule. Boston College at home, at Virginia, and then Cal at home. And they've got 2 wins over top 25 programs, and the one loss was to BYU by 2 points, 3 points.
It was a close one, yeah.
It was a close game, so they might be a bid stealer, as we've come to know in college basketball when it comes to March Madness. But you got to be impressed with what Rhett Lashley's done, and especially stepping it up and going into ACC play and what they did to Pitt on Saturday.
Woo! And think about all those billionaires that put their money where their mouth was because they wanted to be in a Power Four. And they said, you know what? We don't need anything for the next 10 years. ACC, you don't have to pay us anything. Just let us be a part of the conference. And it's paying off. Because if they find themselves in the college football playoff in year 1 after making that move, wow, geniuses.
But it does bode well for you if you're Alabama and they are currently ranked behind you. So as long as they do not upset and ultimately win the ACC title, you feel like Alabama would probably get the nod over SMU. But there's going to be, I think, a couple conference title games where we look at and go, man, I could upset the apple cart if you have a number 17 or 18 team beating a top 10 team.
And as far as just my opinion, and we kind of talked about this last week, Bama still has the best win in the nation against Georgia. And that's going to go a long way. So, I mean, even though you lost to Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt's now a bowl-eligible team.
They're in the top 25.
Yeah, I mean, they're 6-3. So that's not going to hurt them as bad. And your second loss was to Tennessee, another top 10 opponent. So, as of right now, I think Alabama is in the mix. I think the latest one, I think I saw, they were a 10 seed, something like that. Maybe going to Penn State.
I'd like that matchup.
That was one of the projections that I saw.
Well, you like that matchup historically.
Yeah.
Against the head coach that would be hosting you.
Yes. And based on what I saw on Saturday, yes.
That under was a lock, though.
Landrum and
so
Conrad.
Was Ohio State, baby.
Landrum Conrad went 4-1 on their bet it or forget it picks.
Good job, partner.
Molly went 2-3.
Sorry, Malls.
That's what this week's for, Molly.
That's right. Get back on that horse.
See, we didn't even
giddy up.
We didn't even bring up Nebraska.
Oh,
wow.
Oh.
Sorry, Molly.
Matt Rule, where have you gone?
Welcome back in. It's the 12 o'clock hour. We'll go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama momentarily and hear from Kalen DeBoer as the Alabama Crimson Tide gets ready for their big game. It's an elimination game for the college football playoff as they take on the LSU Bengal Tigers. When it comes to plumbing, always have a pro on standby. That's Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They're family owned and operated. They handle everything: faucet repairs, water heater maintenance, commercial plumbing, sewer line repairs, and so much more. One call will do it all for you at 205-516-4927 or go to ironmountainworld.com. Family owned and operated service company ready to tackle any of those bothersome plumbing problems around your house. 205-516-4927. Let's now go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Head coach Kalen DeBoer, the University of Alabama.
Had a great bye week. Our guys get a chance to work on the things that we felt we needed to work on as a team, get a little healthier and in a good spot. Guys got back to work yesterday with a good practice, high energy, very intentional on what the job is that we're up against going into LSU here, and getting a head start on that, whether it be last week or yesterday. So we'll be back at it tomorrow morning, and got an exciting week, preparing for a good football team. So one update, just want to give, because I know I haven't had a chance to, just with the timing of everything, with when we've met Cole Adams with his injury, just an update there. He'll be out for the year. So we had to deal with that, last week, and unfortunately, just because Cole's a guy that pours everything into it, had an injury earlier in the season. Honestly, at the time, probably thought that was going to be something more significant as far as the time frame with the first one. Just seeing the effort he put into that first injury, you really found out a lot about who he was as a person, as a player, just the toughness he had. And unfortunately, he had another injury here now, and lower body injury, and so we'll be done with the season here this year. Questions?
All right, start with Charlie on the far right. Just with Cole, and you also have Jalen out, just what do you do from a receiver standpoint to kind of, replenish that depth?
Yeah, and the season has the flows, right? The guys that are in, the guys that are out. A couple weeks ago, we had multiple guys out with K-Law and Kobe, and that's where Cole got more playing time as well as some others, and so again, unfortunately, we aren't at full strength there, but just much like most of the teams across the country are. So you're shorthanded, but you mix and match, and you continue to find the versatility in guys and put them into spots, and coach them up. And there's a lot of cross training that happens within positions, and receivers one of them. So guys that can play inside and outside both, we're going to utilize them to their fullest potential. But it's always all hands on deck, especially this time of the year.
Chase on the far left.
What were your thoughts about the edict from the SEC on Friday with the penalties for defenses faking injuries, and how much do you think faking injuries really impacts the integrity of the game?
Well, I guess the rules have been the rules, and so just having to find another level of enforcement, I think, and seriousness about it is what's happening here. And so from our end, I already talked to our players, our staff. It doesn't change what we do, because we go about it, and if you are hurt, and you need to stay down, especially if it's substitutions that need to be made. You need to be looked at, but you can put yourself in some tough positions if you really truly are hurt, and that's I really feel like with what our team does and how we operate, how it's going to continue to be. So I've been on the other end where there's situations at the end of the game or whatever it might be that get a little frustrating, and that can happen at any time. But the rules have been the rules, and so we'll just continue to go about business as we always have here in our program.
Yeah, now that you know that Cole's out for the year, do you want to have just one punt returner, or how do you want to handle that position moving forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, you will go with, who you feel best about, obviously. We need to continue to always build depth. Said this at the beginning of the year to our special teams, coordinator with Jay Nunez. He does a great job, but also just in developing returners. It isn't just your upperclassmen that you know can do it, you have confidence in, but it's also developing younger guys. And you have seen just as much as anyone has that we have younger guys that we've been putting out there with Bach and Ryan. And we need to continue to develop more and more, not just for today, not just for the next couple of games or the rest of the season, but also for the future, years to come. And so just over and over, you just can't catch enough kicks, punts, and then all the situations that come along with it, when to field it, when to fair catch it, the communication that happens, just being comfortable back there. It's reps and reps and reps of that. And so we're going to always continue to develop more and more guys. And, kind of who you've been seeing is who we'll start out with Bach and Ryan. But, whether we pick just one or the other, I think there's also pieces with the flow of the game, and just things like that might dictate, or even a situational call that we want to where we have a certain guy out there.
Jump back over to the left, Katie.
Nick just talked about the importance of starting fast on the road. Vanderbilt, it was a pick six first offensive possession, Tennessee 3 and out. So just in general on offense on the road, how important is it to start fast, and then specifically kind of with this game this weekend?
Yeah, certainly. And that's something we're always preaching. And unfortunately, as you mentioned in those two games, we haven't done that. And there's been a lot of, in the Vanderbilt game, I think we quickly got going, had success. You just can't dig yourself a hole, especially given the opponent a momentum in an environment like we're going to see at LSU. So it's critical. We preach it every day. We try to even set up our practice to where we do start fast, whether it's offense or defense. And, we didn't get that done the last two road games, as you mentioned. So always an emphasis on that, but really it comes back to not really, the guys are trying. It's just a matter of, doing things that you do well, going out there and executing.
Stay on that same row. Let's go to Colin.
Hey, Kalen, I'm curious what you've seen out of Elijah Pritchett at right tackle recently. It seems like from our perspective that he's struggled a little bit from that position. How have you seen him kind of handle the last off week, and how comfortable do you feel about the right tackle position right now?
Yeah, I think Elijah's got a ton of potential, and a lot of things that he's grown in. There's always the areas, and at this time of the year, there's enough film on someone to where teams attack you certain ways, and whether we're talking about the tackle position or it could be anywhere, defensive back, defensive line. You put on film as a team, as an individual, the things that opponents are going to look at. And so he's continuing to work hard every single day. I mean, it just he comes out to practice, he's competitive. I feel like his growth has been kind of proven over the year. I think there's a consistency to him that is higher than what it was at the beginning or even the middle of the season. And, that's what you're looking for. That's all you can ask in your players, is that they continue to grow, they can continue to, improve. And he's doing that. And, we'll continue to help him as coaches. That's our job.
All the way back right, Ryan.
Hey, Coach. Many people believe this one on Saturday must win for Alabama. What's your approach? This is why you come to Alabama for games like this, and what's been the attitude with you going into a game where there's really not a lot of wiggle room left this season? Yeah,
and that's, you saw our response, I think, with the Missouri game, because really, that was the case there. And, I say that, and then all of a sudden you start thinking, well, why wasn't that the case when we went to Tennessee? Well, it was. It's just more experiences that you have together, the backs of the wall, there's different things that different teams respond well to. And at least for the first test, and Missouri was at home, we got off to a fast start defensively, did a nice job there, and just continued to apply pressure, I think, offensively. And once we got the field position in our favor, we kind of cracked through. But for us, it's just always going back to really the process and, the work that needs to be put in, the areas we needed to continue to improve on. And the guys, I use the word intentional a lot, whether it's here, whether it's with our team, We have to be intentional, and we got to bring that energy in order to really continue to improve. And they're doing that, and they want to make something big of this season, and it's supported through the action that you see on the practice field. You see it in just the way they're going about their business off the field. Just the details that really continue to hone in on. And it's just a matter of time, right? As the season goes on, you become more comfortable with what we're doing, whether it's our scheme or just the routine or each other. And a lot of our youth is rising up and continuing to gain more and more confidence, mixed in with the veterans that continue to bring great leadership. So I like where we're at. Unfortunately, like you said, we have less wiggle room. And our backs are to the wall, and so we're going to fight each and every day, bite, scratch, and claw, like you've never seen, and that continues on this week.
Grace in the back left.
Coach, on the other side of a bye week, what indicators are you looking for in your team that lets you know it was productive and that their mindset is in the right place for a game like LSU?
You're talking about like this week? Yeah, I think last week and this week is a great indication. I guess this week I'm talking about yesterday's practice. Ton of energy. There was a purpose, just very deliberate in how we went out there. There's emotion and there's energy, but it's really focused on the right things. And the leaders, what I challenge our team to do is not just have the leaders that have been the leaders step up, but have, at this point, a team full of leaders. We can't have, these freshmen aren't freshmen. The new guys that come into this program aren't just new guys anymore. This is our team, and that's been the message, but really for them to all raise their game as leaders. That means accountability for themselves, ourselves, each individually, and then also bring someone else with you. And that's been the challenge the last couple of weeks, and I continue to kind of hone in on that.
All right, we're going to finish up with Tony here on the left.
What have you seen from Robbie Utes, and how big is his ability to kind of handle some of that dirty work that maybe goes unnoticed on offense?
Yeah, and he does some things on special teams too with Robbie. He's just a really versatile guy, becoming more versatile when it comes to special teams and offense. I think he's one of those guys that when you talk about the reps that you've had now in our offense and how we teach things, and just getting used to the locations that we're going to put him as I guess a tight end, but even in a fullback role, the spots that we put him all over on the field, the reps have helped him really develop and grow. And now you see him not just going out there and trying to execute what's on paper and what the play's supposed to be, but he's actually going out there and making plays. I think the first play or early in the game, we went right to him, and just like it was second nature for him, to run the route, to catch the ball, to, get vertical and, run through people like he's used to doing. And he's a guy that our team looks to because he's very just unselfish. Will do whatever it takes for our football team to be successful. And that happens through his effort, happens through his attitude. You can just see it. And he's a pleasure to have on our football team, pleasure to coach.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you. Roll Tide.
Kalen DeBoer, his weekly press conference brought to us by our friends at Evolve IT. Evolve IT, they're ready to take your tech game to the next level. They're local. You can find them online, evolvebhm.com. That's evolvebhm.com, or give them a call, 205-749-8970. Some of the takeaways, what we heard from Kalen DeBoer, Alabama getting ready for LSU. We'll do it next. Reaction Monday, 3-man front, and Jocks 94.5.
It is 12:18, Jocks 94.5. You just heard Kalen DeBoer's press conference. We will talk about that, and also some news coming out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That is significant in regards to what potentially LSU will have available on the offensive side of things.
Well, if you have an older roof and we're thinking it may need to be replaced, before you do so, you have to listen to this. Our friends at Roof Max of Hoover have a professional and affordable roof treatment scientifically proven to reduce the aging process of your asphalt roof. With Roof Max, you're going to have the protection of a brand new roof in only a few hours, plus save thousands with a safe, effective, and affordable natural treatment. This is how it works. Roof Max resaturates your old, dirty, dry shingles with a natural, bio-friendly treatment that can give you 5 more years of protection, guaranteed. Get a free roof assessment from Roof Max of Hoover today. You can call or text them at 205-913-2243. That's 205-913-2243. Use promo code JOCKS for a 10% discount and the free roof assessment. Instead of spending $15,000 to $20,000 replacing your existing roof, pay pennies on the dollar with Roof Max of Hoover. Once again, 205-913-2243. Make sure you tell them Landrum from 3-Man Front sent you.
So, Kalen DeBoer, the biggest takeaway is that Cole Adams has been lost for the year. He is out. And that's tough because Cole Adams was an individual that really had a good fall camp. He came into the season. He obviously had an arm and elbow issue. He's been playing with that heavy brace on his elbow, and then he got hurt in the last game, and you could tell that it was a significant injury to the lower leg, and so he is out for the season for Alabama, so that's tough. Meanwhile, Brian Kelly is meeting with the media down in Baton Rouge, and he has told folks at his press conference that their starting left guard, Garrett Dellinger, he is out for the Alabama game. He had tightrope surgery on his ankle. So the recovery time for him will vary, but he is absolutely 100% out against Alabama upcoming this weekend. He also was asked about this upcoming matchup with Alabama, and Brian Kelly says that Alabama has no weaknesses in terms of talent at every position. He called it probably as balanced a football team that LSU will play this season because of that.
It's very nice of him to say.
Yes, it is.
That's a tough loss for LSU.
Yeah, that is. I saw this stat today and I had to double check it. It is crazy. LSU's offensive line this year, they have given up 4 sacks.
That's very good.
All year. And that's not even first in America. It's third best. They're behind Army and Georgia Tech.
Army's definitely one of those teams.
Georgia Tech. Well, Brick, he's former offensive lineman, so,
That's right.
He
makes sense.
Had that. But, yeah, the Tigers' offensive line has allowed 4 sacks in 8 games. And here's another crazy stat. They've also allowed just 24 tackles for loss. So that's 3 per game. That's the least amount in the SEC and 4th least nationally behind Navy, Army, and Penn State.
Well, that's got to make you feel good if you're Alabama, that even if you don't get pressure on them sometimes, he's still going to throw interceptions.
that's another good
point.
I
want to ask this question. I know it's early in the week. Is this the best passer/passing offense that Alabama has faced this season?
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, just not even close.
I agree. I was just interested because you say passer, Nussmeier, obviously, but passing offense, you look at what Tennessee does schematically, but I would agree with you guys.
Tigers are the 6th best passing team in all of college football, and I think Nussmeier. I just created a new player. Gus
I like
Meyer.
that.
How about that?
Are they still around? They're still around, right?
Gus Meyer?
Gus Meyer?
They used to be at Brookwood, right?
Mhm.
Now they're at Summit. Is that right?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Let's go shopping.
Sure. 333 yards per game passing. LSU is one of 20 teams to have at least 20 touchdown passes by their offense.
Okay.
He does turn the ball over, though.
Yep.
He has the propensity to do
That's
that.
the caveat there.
Mm-hmm. But no, when I saw that 4 sacks,
that's remarkable.
I mean, I was like, maybe that's not why I'm I'm not a Joe Moore Award voter because I had no clue. 4 sacks. That's really impressive. The number of times that he's dropped back to pass.
Yeah, it's remarkable. There's a couple teams in this state that would love to have some stats.
I'm sure Ole Miss remembers those stats too. Just could never get to him.
How about Jimmy? He texted in, and this is really not related. Kind of is. Jimmy texted in one of the wildest stats you'll see. Tennessee has faced 8 quarterbacks this year, and Jalen Milroe is the only starter to finish a game. 6 knocked out with injury, 1 got benched. Thank you, Jimmy in Irondale.
Interesting.
Probably a lot of Alabama fans that didn't want to see him finish that game.
Dang.
To be fair.
More text coming in. Jamie texted in, great show, gentlemen. Roll Tide. I know we talk about the SEC here most, but is it anyone talking about James Franklin's choke job? Just curious.
We've not had an opportunity to today, but
I think most of us knew it was coming.
I mean, when Penn State's offense had 3 trips into the red zone and came away with only 6 points, that's a problem. I mean, look at what happened in the fourth quarter. Less than 10 minutes left. Had the ball on the goal line with 4 chances to score.
And you had another opportunity early in that game where Ohio State was able to make a goal line stand and you walk away with nothing.
Ohio State's 8th straight win against Penn State. James Franklin at Penn State. Franklin is tied with Wisconsin for the 3rd most wins in that time frame with 95, but he's closer to 7th place all time in the Big Ten during that time frame than he is to the top place in the Big Ten.
Well, and let's be completely honest, that game is not close if Will Howard doesn't punt the ball back out of the end zone or whatever that was where he, I guess, hit it off his thigh and it went out the back of the end zone. If that doesn't happen, this game's not.
All right, so all those stats that we were talking about with Hugh Freeze, right? I mean, you can pick them out. I mean, he's 6-16 in his last 22 games as an SEC head coach in league play. He's 1-6 in his last 7 home games at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
He just allowed Vanderbilt to win in Auburn for the first time
ever.
And his offense put up 7 points against Vanderbilt at home.
But take a listen to these numbers by James Franklin. He is 1-7 versus top 10 teams at home. He is 6-10 versus ranked teams at home. He's 1-13 versus top 5 teams overall. He's 3-18 against top 10 teams. He's 13-27 against top 25 teams. He's 1-10 against Ohio State. And Penn State as a program, they are 1-23 since 2000 against top 5 opponents.
One of those ranked wins at home, though, was against Brian Harsin and Auburn. Was Auburn, they were ranked at the time, weren't they? I
think so.
Yep.
I just wish we could start a petition and just kick them out of the playoff. Because does anybody actually think they deserve to be? No. And I understand with who they lost to in Ohio State and how the AP poll works and stuff, they're not one of the 10 best teams in the country.
No.
I'm sorry. They are not.
No, not at all. And not to mention the fact that USC, if they had a decent head coach, they would have beat them a couple weeks ago. They would not have allowed that
They should have lost to Bowling Green.
Yes. Take a listen. Here's James Franklin post-game, the big loss to Ohio State.
I also understand when you're at a place like Penn State, there's really, really high expectations. When you're at a place like Ohio State, there's really, really high expectations. I get it. I totally get it. So we've looked at all these things really hard. We'll continue to look at these things really hard. There's a lot of things that I had planned on saying when I came in here today, but they are not appropriate to say right now. So I'll hold them till another time.
So what was he going to say? Is he gonna
blaming other people?
Is he gonna deflect and talk about how it's not right for the hard-earning people of the state of Pennsylvania to buy tickets and voice their displeasure about you being a horrible coach against top-ranked teams?
Really wish someone had asked him why they don't throw the ball down the field more.
Yeah.
No, seriously, what do you think he was referring to? Like, what was he going to say? Because then he started, I mean, we all seen the clip where he's up against the railing and he's yelling at the guy and he's saying, "What's your name?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're bad enough to, come down here and yell your displeasure, then give me your name. I mean, what was he going to say in the press conference?
It would have been, like Landrum said, it would have been excuses.
He's going to blame it on somebody.
Yep.
I mean, last year he ended up changing all of his offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Started letting people go. Sounded almost like Hugh Freeze. Remember last year it was Philip Montgomery's fault, right?
Yep.
He believed in everybody. He made the change at offense. Who do you think's calling the plays at Auburn? Looks like it's Hugh Freeze to me.
That's what it looks like.
So who's going to get thrown under the bus this year?
Defense has improved.
Well, there's no question about that.
I'm sold on DJ Durkin and developing those guys. They're still playing hard for him.
Spectacular job. Yep.
I'm not saying the guys on the offense aren't playing hard. They continue to make the same mistakes over and 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 over. Warmed over poo poo.
You like that line?
I have another version that I was going to say, but
save it for the podcast.
I will save it for the podcast. 3-man front and Jocks 94.5.
I'll never forget doing a parody song to this song, and it was about Terry Bowden being fired at Auburn. So when you played that, it immediately made me think about Hugh Freeze. Because I associate that with a failed coach at Auburn.
I think good riddance is a kinder way of phrasing what's on a lot of people's minds today.
Yeah.
Terry Bowden, though, he won his first, 20 games at Auburn?
Mm-hmm. A magical 1993 season. Too bad nobody saw it. It was on TV.
It was the best team on radio, baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're looking to upgrade and enhance your outdoor living area and landscape, our friends at Second Generation Masonry, that's the team for beautifying any area. Their expert team crafts durable brick, concrete, and elegant stone creations that elevate any space, from fire pits, maybe an outdoor fireplace just in time for the winter, landscape steps, garden walls, stone patios and walkways to custom driveways. These are your guys. Take your outdoor living area to the next level, residential and commercial as well. Check out all their completed projects, or some of their completed projects, there at Second Generation Masonry, secondgenerationmasonry.com. Get your free quote today. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
So each week, The Athletic puts out the rankings of 1 through 134. This week, the worst team in America is Kent State. They still have not won a game.
Okay.
They're 0-8. Southern Miss is at 133.
Okay.
UTEP is at 132. Air Force, 131.
Look at Kennesaw State moving up after that Liberty
Is
win.
Calhoun still there?
Yes.
It's just a down year.
Kennesaw State at 130.
Oh, never mind.
UMass is at 129. Akron, 128.
Zippy the kangaroo.
Utah State, Temple, New Mexico State, Middle Tennessee State. Ooh.
No.
Derek Mason. La Tech, 123. Wyoming.
Good defense, though.
Troy's having kind of a rough year.
Yeah, they are.
They're 2-7.
Sorry, Coach Barr.
They come in at 121. Georgia State, who knocked off Vanderbilt.
Yep.
Comes in at 120. Nevada, 119. San Diego State, 118. Tulsa, 117. Coming in at number 116 is UAB after a big win this weekend. And man, that was not even remotely close to being
beat down.
It was bad.
It was beautiful for me. That was beautiful for you.
It was, trust me.
It was like, what is going on? One of those days where it just seemed like everything that happened was going to be, it was going to be really good.
You know, it's interesting because in the American Athletic Conference, you had Tulane that's undefeated. You got Army that's undefeated.
Navy, what? I know you had 5 hours of weather delays.
Yeah, but losing to Rice.
What are you doing? Come on. You let Notre Dame beat you twice.
Yeah.
And the weather.
That was crazy. But also Memphis going to San Antonio.
Oh my goodness.
And getting beat by UTSA. That was a big upset. Meanwhile, FSU, Dave, if you're listening, Florida State comes in at 102 this week.
Moving on up.
Okay.
Now they were 99 last week.
Oh.
So they fell 3 spots.
Well, they are
moving on back.
Mississippi State fell 1. They beat UMass, but they fall 1 back.
You're not going to get a whole lot of credit for UMass.
I'm just looking down the list here, seeing Jacksonville State went from 109 last week. They're now up to 82.
Oh, wow.
Somebody reminded me on the text line that Diego Pavia is now 4-0 versus the state of Alabama because they beat Jacksonville State a week after they beat Auburn, according to that. I didn't fact check it last year.
Okay. UCLA after their big win over Nebraska over the weekend. Sorry, Molly.
Okay.
What?
That was
what happened?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I took Nebraska minus.
I did too. I did too.
You threw out that stat last week. I was like,
Yeah, Molly. A lot of people
I'm
lost.
I'm not blaming you.
A lot of people lost money.
A
lot of people lost money, Molly, because of what you said last week. Hope you're happy. Coming in at 67 this week is Auburn.
Seems a little high.
I'm glad you said it.
They fell 6 spots. They were 61st last week. They're just ahead of Kentucky.
Appropriate.
Well, that's fitting.
Appropriate.
Also, yes, New Mexico State did beat JSU last year, 20-17.
So Diego is 4-0 versus the state of Alabama.
So you got Mississippi State is ranked the worst in the SEC. then Kentucky, and then Auburn, and then right ahead of Auburn is Central Florida. And Gus
Now that's
Malzahn.
funny. That's funny.
Gus did jump up 10 spots
Right.
because they got the big win over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even.
You almost had it.
I know. I can't even channel my inner Gus.
Florida is up to, well, they fell 3 spots back. I thought if Lagway would have stayed in the game.
I think they would have won.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I would not go as far as to say that they would have won, but that would have been a heck of a finish, in my opinion.
I'm just glad that the overhit. Thank you, Georgia.
I'm just glad that Kirby elected not to kick a field goal late.
Has the Cavender twin, has she released a statement on Carson Beck not even being in the Heisman Trophy race anymore because he threw 3 more interceptions?
No, but she was at the game.
I like
She
the
was
tweet
at the
that
game.
Molly sent Saturday.
Let me find it.
You said click on it. I went out of my way to click on
You
it.
have to click on it to understand the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was very good.
It was good.
Oh, I can't repeat it, but it was really funny.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, you're talking about a guy that had the highest odds of any SEC player a week ago of making it a run at the Heisman Trophy. He was 7th, had the 7th best odds. He now comes in with the exact same odds, plus 6,000 as Jalen Milroe and Garrett Nussmeier.
If Carson Beck, all hypothetical, but I just want to hear your instant reaction from you guys. If Carson Beck is a quarterback at Auburn, how many more games do they win this year?
Maybe 1 or 2.
I was about to say a couple more.
You don't think it's drastic?
No, and so tell me what y'all think about this, because I brought this up this morning with Damien on Morning Jocks.
Who?
Damien.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who is this?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that.
He's new. He's a new guy.
Okay.
But Carson Beck is kind of doing a Spencer Rattler right here in the sense of, hey, this guy's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Do we even need to play the season? It's just set in stone already. And I know it's a different circumstance. He hasn't gotten benched for a Caleb Williams or something, but I mean, I think he's at risk of falling out of the first round altogether right now.
He has thrown more interceptions than anybody else in college football. He's thrown 11 in his last 5 games.
I was about to say, he had 0 interceptions going into the Alabama game, and now he's thrown 11.
In 5 games.
Yeah, it's bad. I saw people comparing Carson Beck to Peyton Thorne.
Are you serious?
On Twitter.
Well, that's why I brought up the question. Colonel Pat, are you feeling better about the game?
Oh, you better believe it. Are you kidding me?
Ole Miss and Georgia?
You better believe it. The Grove will be hopping this weekend, my friend.
I wish I could play that game at night.
You and Lane.
You want to do another bet?
You and Lane.
Nah.
You won the last one.
If the same thing is on the line, no, I don't want to return to that bet. No. You still got one that you're going to have to pay off.
Don't know what you're talking about.
But about my Rebels, that was the type of offense what you expected.
Yes, it was.
And you did it with your best receiver out.
I mean, Jackson Dart, 515 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 694 yards of offense.
See, that's what I thought we were going to get earlier in the season when Tennessee rolled in there to Fayetteville.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And that's why I said leading up to that game, what Arkansas does not do well, Tennessee does well. But that's why it's so much fun to watch college football week to week. Let's be honest.
That is the most points that an Arkansas team has given up to an SEC opponent since 2018 when Alabama scored 65.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
2018, Bama scored 65 points against Arkansas. So the 63 by Ole Miss was the most since 2018.
I'll remind Auburn fans, your team scored 48 on Arkansas in Fayetteville last year. But we can all agree Auburn was, just much better personnel-wise last year.
Yeah, because it was all Brian Harsin.
Coaching was significantly better.
Yeah.
Harsin didn't
It was
leave
all
the
those great
cupboard
players
bare.
that Brian Harsin left.
Yes, no doubt. Have we seen a tweet from Harsin? Did he tweet yesterday?
He did.
He did.
He tweeted this morning, cheers to the winners.
I think I've been blocked.
If he pours coffee.
By Harsin. So.
Never
He said, great things come from hard work and perseverance. No excuses. Yeah. Cheers to the winners.
Yeah, because he worked really hard at Auburn.
In his little Yeti cup.
And got that big old
Super
fat
hard.
paycheck.
Darkening the doors of all of those high schools.
Well, it was COVID. I mean, he was worried about his, because he would not get a shot.
I forgot about that. Oh,
yeah, I mean, he almost didn't even show up at SEC Media Days.
God, I forgot about that.
And look,
and then when he was
that's totally his choice. My problem with, I'd kind of forgot.
And then
about
there was talk that Auburn was going to fire him.
Only coach I've ever camped out in a parking deck for.
There was talk that they were going to fire Harsin for not getting a shot because he was a state employee, and they were mandating. So there could have been just think if they would have fired him for that.
Well, then they had to figure something else out.
Yeah. All right. It is Black Friday all month long at Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Save up to $15,000 off MSRP on remaining 2024 GMC Sierras in stock. These trucks are the very desirable Elevation Premium with the X31 four-wheel drive off-road package, leather, sunroof, heated seats, multi-pro tailgate, spray-in liner for that factory. Absolutely loaded. Don't miss these trucks while they last. Courtesy was able to acquire 40 of these trucks last month, and they're under 12 now. That's right, just updated. Under 12. Don't miss this great deal. 7-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty on all new vehicles at Courtesy GMC. Go by and see them in Trustful off of exit 32, I-459, or visit them on the web at courtesybirmingham.com.
Lots of your reaction. We'll get to the text line. Reaction Monday continues. 3-man front and Jocks, 94.5. Reaction Monday continues. The text line is open 205-834-9450. From daily exercisers and youth athletes to elite professionals, UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine treats everyone with the same level of exceptional care with board-certified professionals, state-of-the-art imaging, and injury prevention programs. Their comprehensive team is here to keep you in the game. Visit uabmedicine.org/sports or call 205-930-8339 to make an appointment. UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine, knowledge moving medicine forward.
So the SEC announced their TV schedule for November the 16th, so plan accordingly. The Auburn Tigers, they're going to kick off at 11:45 a.m. against the University of Louisiana Monroe. Meanwhile, Alabama and Mercer, that is going to be a 1 o'clock kickoff. Another game that Conrad won't attend, but that's at 1 o'clock.
I'm going to the one after that, Pat.
You going to Norman?
I am.
Never been to Norman.
Me neither. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's a cool place.
I'm very excited.
Stillwater's a cool place, too. Been to both places.
Okay.
If you get a chance,
nice.
go creep by where Lincoln Riley used to live in a black SUV.
I'm sure the security detail's still there.
Probably so.
So Oklahoma gets the big win against the Maine Black Bears.
Ooh, they needed that one.
It was a comeback win. They were down
Yes,
early.
they were behind. Javonte Barnes ran for a career-high 203 yards for the Sooners, 3 touchdowns. Oklahoma had 665 yards of offense. That will pad those statistics moving forward.
Do you guys want some text?
Sure, I love some text.
All right, let's do text. 205-834-9450.
As long as it's not some
9450.
As long as it's not some political campaign asking for money.
Oh, I got another one of those after the one I showed you on the break. Got another one.
I'm surprised we have not gotten that on the text
I
line.
might have passed your number along.
Oh, thank you, Pat.
Somebody.
I appreciate that.
Make this a landslide. Contribute $25 right now. Can't believe we hadn't gotten one of those. Big John text in. So fellas and lady, unfortunately, Molly is handling other duties right now. Who is your top 3 to replace Coach Freeze? All right, so I will throw out at least 2 names right now.
Well, first off, you mention
No.
this guy's name all the time.
I do.
I mean, for every job that's going to be
Well,
coming
I just
open.
said I think this is a home run hire, whoever gets him.
And by the way, I agree.
Okay.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
you use his name a lot.
I think 2 names. We're going to do this based on, I'll just do it from this vantage point. This is who I think Auburn, if they had a search committee right now.
2
names that would be on the list
This
to replace.
afternoon, the
Not
2
that we
names.
think that Hugh Freeze is going to be fired this
Speak
year.
for
Let's
yourself.
make that perfectly clear.
Speak for yourself.
Well, I'll let you know after the ULM game. But I think that John Sumrall, formerly of Troy, won 2 Sun Belts there, and now the head coach at Tulane, would be on that list. I believe that Rhett Lashley, current SMU coach, would be on that list. I will rack my brain for a third. Pat, you go next.
I disagree with Rhett Lashley.
Okay.
I do not believe he would come back to Auburn.
No. That was who would be the candidates. Who would Auburn? I'm taking this from who would Auburn put on their list to reach out to.
Right. I'm just saying that I think they know Rhett Lashley's not coming back.
Okay.
So I don't think Rhett Lashley would be on that list.
What about Golish?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. Nope. He's blown 2 games against Alabama.
That's doing opposites thing from Hugh Freeze.
Plus, he's from Moscow. Does a Russian really go well in Auburn, Alabama? I'm just saying. Who else? You can laugh all you want to, but I'm about to give you a name, and this is there's a lot of people that's going to swerve off the road when I give you this name, and I think Landrum knows where I'm going. You get ready. Are you ready? Are you buckled in? Are you ready for this name? I don't know if you're ready for this, but I'm going to give it to you
I think
anyway.
I know where you're going.
Jimbo Fisher.
Oh, God.
Jimbo Fisher was at Sanford on Saturday.
He was.
He was there. Jimbo Fisher would be on the short list at Auburn. I'm just telling you right now. So give me the pros and cons. Why do you not like that?
I mean, he's won a national championship.
He coached at Auburn. Played football in the state of Alabama. He was hired for about 5 minutes at UAB as their head coach before the Board of Trustees struck it down.
The number one on the list is he is really good friends with people that matter at Auburn. Let's put all that other baloney that you threw out there, Pat.
Are you saying that I was?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying, and because that's exactly what you were doing. Number one, it would be the relationship and the fondness people that matter that still are influential down there still have of.
Because you can hear it right now. Jimbo Fisher is one of 3 people that have won a national championship. That's still coaching, or no, I'm sorry, not still coaching.
What is his record against Nick Saban? That's the qualifier, right?
Well, I mean, now that he's retired.
Has he won more against Nick Saban than Hugh Freeze?
I think the funniest option, and I don't think this would ever be a candidate in a real for Auburn.
We're trying to keep it real here.
Well, I'm just saying, if they make the college football playoff, would you not want somebody that just made the playoff as your next coach, Landrum?
Expanded playoff.
You wouldn't want Danielson from Boise State. No, I'm just. They wouldn't go that route, but that would be funny.
I'm telling you, Jimbo Fisher would be, and you know, I'm right.
Eli Drinkwitz,
possibly.
Yep. That's my third.
No,
Drink's a good one.
I'm telling you though, Jimbo Fisher would be squarely on that list.
You make a good point. I just don't think that's what anybody wanted to hear. But
well, you may not want to hear it or not, but I guarantee you, because there are plenty of people down there that still think pretty highly of Jimbo Fisher.
And I didn't disagree with you.
Oh, I know you didn't.
But I was closing my eyes because
you were envisioning the press conference. That's what you were doing.
It's ridiculous. But yes, his name would be in the mix for sure.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of what happened before Nick Saban got to Alabama. It was crazy. All the coaching changes, the absolute every single day on the Feinbaum show, people would call in all the time. They had to have some type of lineage to Alabama. Somebody that either played for Bryant, somebody that was a coach for Bryant, or whatever the case may be. You had to have that connection, and Jimbo Fisher has a connection with a lot of important people at Auburn. I mean, he did a lot of really good things when he was an assistant coach at Auburn.
If we're going to throw out coaches who are currently not coaching, why don't we go ahead and put Bill Clark right at the top of the list?
Well, they obviously had a dalliance with Coach Bill Clark before. Now, you and I have not asked Coach Clark this question.
No.
Because we value our friendship, and if he wants to talk about something with us, we would open that conversation, but we're not going to say, hey, Coach, would you like to go here to coach? Because that's not our relationship.
No, and he's joining us coming up next, and I'm not going to ask him that question.
No, not at all. Now, if he wants to volunteer, hey, I would like whatever, then he's got the pulpit to do so.
You think Auburn would kick the tires on a James Franklin if Penn State parted ways with him?
No.
Not going down that hole?
No, I remember a couple years ago, James Franklin was actually trying to get in the mix at South Carolina.
No more suggestions from you, Conrad. Just turn the mic off. We've gotten Boise State and James Franklin.
Mine are fun.
You don't remember that? He tried to get the South Carolina job.
No, I do
before
not,
before they hired Beamer. He's almost like Gundy. Gundy's always open for the possibility. I think now Gundy's 1-7, 1-8 this year. Bill Clark is next. Welcome back in. It is 1 o'clock here on Three Man Front. Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson with you until 2 o'clock. Bill Clark, former coach of the UAB Blazers, he'll join us momentarily. I want to tell everybody about APS, Alabama Professional Services. It's really dry out there, and of course, that can affect what's going on with, obviously, your home and what's happening, whether it's your basement or concrete repair around your house. Termite control and extermination, mosquitoes, those common house pests. They do it all at APS, but I want to talk about your crawl space repair and those basement waterproofing issues that you might have, because moisture and water in your crawl space can cause serious health risks, costly, mostly damage to your to your home, even serious safety risks for your home. Issues such as pest infestations, those ratted out floors, or perhaps those common occurrences with untreated crawl spaces. So the best way to prevent these problems is for your crawl space to be encapsulated, moisture controlled, and waterproofed. Crawl space encapsulation is so very important. So that's why you need to call Alabama Professional Services today. Go to their website, alabamaprofessional.com. Been around since 1977. That's right. And they can take care of you today. 205-951-9717. Professional is their middle name. That's Alabama Professional Services, 205-951-9717.
He is the coach, Bill Clark. He joins us every single Monday here on Three Man Front. And his segment is brought to us by our friends at Donahue Chevrolet. He also joins us on the Buyers Right Hotline. Happy Monday, Coach. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing all right. Let's start with what happened at Auburn. Once again, DJ Durkin, the defensive side of the ball, you can't ask for much more. You hold Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia to under 250 yards of total offense. You hold them to 17 points, yet on the offensive side of the ball, it looked like to me they regressed. Jarquez Hunter, only 12 carries after what we saw last week in Lexington. 7 points at home against Vanderbilt. No disrespect to Clark Lee and those guys, but Coach, let's start there. What was your reaction to what you saw there on Saturday?
Well, first, I thought the defense played very well. Obviously they had the miscue down there where you got the guy jumping on for the PAT field goal block. One of the young guys made a big mistake down there. But I think, just all things considered, the defense is really playing well. I think offensively, and I think coaches are so guilty of this, and you know how it is. We can check all this on Monday and in the heat of battle. But I think you got the guy. Maybe you're trying to break tendencies. I'm sure the box was stacked some, but you still got to keep feeding that guy. So I think hindsight, looking back, you got to give that guy the ball. And we talked last week about getting 20 plus touches for him. You just got to do that.
Well, moving forward, especially with this offense, it seemed like at the beginning of the year it was the problem with the quarterback play. Then all of a sudden it looked like you had turned the corner with Jarquez Hunter with those 23 carries the week before. But they only had 12 against Vanderbilt, and he wasn't injured. I know you just kind of referenced it, Coach, but to me it just looks like that they just do not have an identity on offense. And being this late in the season, they still don't know who they are or who they could be in regards to Auburn's offense.
Well, I've got a question for all of us. It's what do you do when you've got these elite young receivers you've brought in? Is this a matter of trying to keep those guys happy? And I think that's somebody was asking me this the other day. So what do you do when you've got that? I said, we win now. We do what it takes to win, and our best players, our running back. And granted, you've got to have more than that, but we've got to feature him. And that's why I say we, because I just think of in terms of what I would do. Obviously, we're going to still throw the ball to these receivers, but you can't do it at the detriment of what's going to win for you. And I know they're doing what they think is going to win, but when you got that running back, you've got to make sure he gets the touches.
Bill Clark joining us, Coach Bill Clark here on Three Man Front, joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. When you talk about offense inside a protective stadium, no, it was a tradition that you guys started when you were there, but the Children's Harbor game, and couldn't ask for a better performance from what we saw from Trent Dilfer and the Blazers, and those children and their families there to witness it. Impressive win all the way around. First of all, what did you think about the UAB offense against Tulsa and just racking up a whole bunch of yards and a whole bunch of points?
Well, I think, we got to see what happens with an open week if you take advantage of it. And I think as we see open dates later in the season, you really can catch some teams when they're tired, coming off big wins. So I'm not obviously taking anything away from UAB. I'm really bragging on them for taking advantage of the open date. They did some different things offensively. Obviously, the quarterback played extremely well. And I think just, maybe understanding what this is about with this Children's Harbor game, that you're not even really playing for UAB this game, even though we're always playing for UAB and the community and the folks and each other, your team, but you're playing for more than that. You're playing for these patients, and looked like they took that to heart and played really well on both sides of the ball.
In regards to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, I will say that Georgia and Florida over the weekend, and it looked like Florida, they were playing a heck of a football game. And until DJ Lagway went out with that leg injury, it appeared that he was going to present enough problems for Georgia. And Carson Beck, now 11 interceptions in his last 5 games, just does not look like the quarterback everybody thought he was going to. Moving forward, your thoughts on Georgia? Is there enough of body of work to say, hey, this is kind of problematic for them moving forward, or is this Georgia team likelihood going to be the team to beat for the national championship?
Oh, that's a great question. And we're going to have to, it's so hard to compare those teams outside of the SEC. I think they're not what they were before. I think you've got the quarterback who's really trying to make some plays that aren't there. He doesn't have the skilled players around him offensively. Florida had every opportunity to win this game. And, anytime you lose your number 2 guy and you end up with number 3, and I've done that. I've lived with the number 3 guys for a lot of games. They've got to just be sick to feel like they had every opportunity to win this game. And then the quarterback for Georgia turns it over 3 times. I mean, those are the games you feel like you should win. I thought Florida had, really had a good plan, and give Georgia credit, though. With all that going on, they still found a way to win considering the 3 interceptions.
Coach, let's talk about another game that happened and could alter not only the SEC championship race, but also the college football playoff picture. South Carolina, they're always tough at home, but Williams-Brice, they turned it up a notch. They dominated Texas A&M for 60 minutes. The energy, the enthusiasm, all phases of the game I thought was outstanding. Now you look at Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks at 5-3. You got a game at Vanderbilt, you get Missouri at home, you get Wofford at home, and you finish at Clemson. All 4 of those winnable games. We're potentially talking about South Carolina finishing the season 9-3. And I know everybody's vote was for Mike Elko for SEC Coach of the Year, but if Shane Beamer is not in consideration, if he can run that for SEC Coach of the Year, given what we thought coming into the season, I think people are crazy and would be foolish. Your thoughts on what you saw Saturday?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I really like Shane. I mean, he's coaching for his job in a lot of ways. Just in this crazy world we're in, they play really well at home. That energy, like you said, was unbelievable. Huge win for them. Texas A&M had all the momentum in the world. And like you said, it's a week-to-week season. It is truly a week-to-week season. Missouri's going to probably get their quarterback back, I would assume. Going into this will be a huge game. But, yes, if he could run the table, I would think that would probably be my vote for sure.
In regards to how the Heisman race might look like, watching Genty the other night for Boise State on Friday night, he was banged up a little bit, did not put up the kind of yards that he's been typically putting up. But do you think someone like him playing at a group of 5 is going to have enough national exposure to put him in that conversation towards the end of the year?
Yeah, that's a great question. We talked about that on my show last week. I think it's going to really come down to the very end. I think he's there. He's gotten enough attention. Didn't have quite as much. We talked about that in the last game, being a little bit banged up. We know all the other guys. We've got Miami's quarterback. We've got Gabriel at Oregon. So there's going to be a lot of guys. I think it's really going to come down to who does what as we get to the end. And whether it's right or wrong, the team that's playing really well at the end, really is what pushes a lot of these guys over the top for the Heisman.
Coach, if it's changed at all from what we saw in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party on Saturday to what we saw Ole Miss do in Fayetteville with that offense getting on track without your leading receiver, now they set up to host Georgia on Saturday, a 2:30 kick. I know our Rebel sympathizer, Pat, he's really fired up and a lot more optimistic about this game for the Rebels. But has your perception of this matchup changed since what we saw this past weekend?
It really, yeah, I think it does. I think Ole Miss, you got to give them credit with what's happened to them recently, and then kind of coming back and really putting some points on this is going to be a fun one for everybody to watch, because you got Lane, on his side of the ball and all the RPOs, and then you got Kirby understanding that, and his defense that he has, and doing such a good job. I mean, they've done such a good job on Ole Miss the last few years. So this is going to be a great matchup of that D. And we know both the other sides of the ball obviously are going to factor in, but I just love to see Georgia's defense against Ole Miss's offense. It's going to be a great matchup.
All right, Coach, you join us every single Monday. You also join us for the Bill Clark Show that airs 6 o'clock on Thursdays here on Jocks 94.5, but also on a variety of channels. But your visit today is brought to us by your friends there at Donahue Chevrolet.
Yeah, obviously we had the October specials with the different deals they had going on. The Silverado 1500s with 10,000 off, the 2500s with 8,000, the Tahoes off. I'm sure if you got in there right now, for any of those deals, they'd probably, they'd honor that. The guys at Donahue are just terrific. I had a guy asking me about my Tahoe today, and, you just don't get a better vehicle and better people to deal with.
Coach, we always appreciate the time. Thank you. We will see you very soon, and have a great rest of your Monday.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Coach Bill Clark, brought to us by Donahue Chevrolet, joined us on the Buyers Right hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
So a couple years ago, I noticed that I had a problem on top of my house, the roof. I had some damage because we had some heavy storms and hail. So I called my good friend Travis Lloyd over at Abide Roofing. You can call him today at 205-922-7134. I recommend them 100%. He came not only and checked out what was going on my roof, he spent hours on my roof, but then he got with my insurance company and he dealt directly with them. It was one call to my insurance company. An adjuster came out. Travis Lloyd and his team was on the roof for hours dealing with my insurance company, got that processed. It was flawless. The Abide Roofing team, they have tons of experience and industry knowledge. They're using the absolute best products, but even more than that, they care about your experience. As I mentioned, when Travis worked on my home, everything was top notch. The customer service was through the roof, no pun intended. He even helped me get through that very difficult transition in regards to the insurance company. There's a lot of roofing companies out there, but there's only one Abide Roofing, and I recommend them 100%. Licensed, bonded, insured, just a true pro in the industry. He can take care of you. Call Travis and the team at Abide Roofing today, 205-922-7134, or visit their website, abideroof.com. More Reaction Monday here on Jocks 94.5. Always enjoy catching up with Coach Bill Clark on a Monday, talking about what took place over the weekend. We will continue on Reaction Monday. Your calls are welcome at 1-800-239-WJOX. The text line brought to you by Courtesy GMC, 205-834-9450.
We'll get into Twin Peaks and Hoover all throughout the month of November as they are expanding their exclusive offer of rare bourbons, whiskeys, and tequilas. So if you consider yourself to be a connoisseur of any of those liquors, you need to get into Twin Peaks and Hoover because they are offering their exclusive and extensive collection of incredibly rare bourbons, whiskeys, and tequilas, as well as offering you their barrel selects, which are hand-selected right there in Hoover by the team at Twin Peaks for you. So stop in all throughout the month of November to see what they can pour up for you at Twin Peaks and Hoover.
So we all think that this Saturday is going to be Elimination Saturday because whoever wins the Alabama-LSU game, they will continue to be in the conversation perhaps for the college football playoff. The loser, out. Ole Miss, they lose to Georgia, they're officially out. So this is Elimination Saturday, especially in the SEC. Over the weekend, 5 ranked teams lost to unranked teams. South Carolina over number 10, Texas A&M. You had Texas Tech beating number 11, Iowa State. How about Louisville taking Clemson? That game was not even close. They knock off Clemson. You had Houston over number 17, Kansas State. And then you had number 24, Illinois, losing at home to your guy, PJ Fleck, who all of a sudden...
Row your boat.
They have all of a sudden won 4 straight, and the Golden Gophers...
Gophers.
Gophers.
Where's Molly when you need her?
Yeah.
Minnesota,
the Gophers playing some good football.
Yes.
They are. Almost sound Canadian there.
I was about to say it.
But you know what? You're really close to Canada.
It's right there.
Really are. Very close.
They're very similar.
Yes, indeed. But what about number 17, Kansas State? They blew a 9-point lead in the fourth quarter and lost to Houston.
Oh, it's shrapnel. Willie Fritz, man, he's getting that thing going.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said, though, about Clemson, that offense had been rolling. And you had a Louisville defense that had just given up 52 to Miami.
Let's take a listen to what it sounded like on ESPN as Clemson was trying to make a comeback. They tried an onside kick. The onside kick, at least on when you were watching it, it appeared that Clemson had recovered it. But whatever happened underneath the pile, they reviewed it. And they came back and they said Louisville had gained possession during the onside kick. So that pretty much thwarted the potential of Clemson coming back. But take a listen to the way it sounded on ABC ESPN.
And that, unfortunately, has now drawn the ire of the crowd. And now we've got the crowd acting in a completely inappropriate way as now a lot of debris is being thrown on the field. And now the cheerleaders have to run out of the end zone, not only to help clear the field, but also to dodge water bottles that are being thrown in their direction.
That's an interesting situation. So not only do they not correct the situation in terms of Clemson blocking before they were allowed to, in which case Matt, as he alluded to, would institute a re-kick. They also don't, they say, hey, look, you know, you lost the ball underneath the pile. By the time we got to it to determine who had possession, then so be it. Louisville's ball. Interesting chain of events.
And so Louisville's got it, and Clemson will be desperate for a takeaway. And they're not going to take it away. They're not even going to stop the run game. Padding the lead. Isaac Brown. Touchdown.
Oh, that was rough.
Who do we blame? Because here's the common theme with the trash on the field. Go back to Tennessee and Ole Miss at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee fans, a lot of students voicing their displeasure, throwing things on the field. Then we get Texas this year. They do it. Then we get Clemson, of all people, little bitty Clemson.
Well, Clemson's trying to be an SEC school.
No,
that's where
here's the common thread with all three of those teams. Their primary color is orange.
You think about that.
This is a good point.
So why didn't Auburn fans throw stuff on the field?
Because that is not their primary color. It's navy blue.
Because the life has been sucked out of them, Pat. They don't even have a willingness to trash
You've
the
got
field.
students at Auburn texting us saying that they're turning their tickets in.
Who does Syracuse play next? They're next.
See, I would have loved to be able to blame this on Texas and what happened a few weeks ago, but it's happened before that. But You do wonder if crowds now maybe feel like, man, maybe if we make
They're
enough
empowered.
if we make enough of a scene
Yep.
here, maybe we can change some things.
Take a second glance at it.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing.
Don't love that.
Watching Dabo after the game in his press conference, and somebody asked him about his thoughts on the fans throwing stuff on the field, and he immediately pivoted, did not answer the question. It was like Kamala Harris asking about her voting, how she voted in California yesterday. Just ignored the question, and then immediately decided that he was going to talk about he didn't understand how they called that for Louisville on the onside kick. Didn't even talk about his fans throwing crap on the field.
Or the fact that you were in that situation to begin with.
Yes.
And that's why you needed that onside kick so badly, because you were kind of getting stomped by a team that had never beaten you before.
So we can take out of the college football playoff, you guys' opinion, who was eliminated? Clemson?
I mean, I guess there's still a path for them to make the conference title game and win that, but
Pitt?
Yeah, they're done.
I mean, according to ESPN, Clemson doesn't even have at least a 12% chance of making the college football playoff. So I would say they're done.
Pitt's definitely done.
What about Iowa State?
Yep.
Done?
Done. I mean, again, I guess you could win your conference, but they did not look good on Saturday.
They have a 24% chance of running the table.
Texas A&M, they took a hit, but Texas A&M still, if they win the rest of their games, that would include a win over Texas.
Mm-hmm. Got to beat Auburn and Texas.
You're still in there. Not ready to write them off.
I don't know.
They're hanging on by a thread.
I mean, Ole Miss has a better chance than A&M does.
They do. Unless they lose to Georgia on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. No,
Well,
I mean,
then, yeah,
I was referring
but you're
to
just
it.
saying right now. They're done.
I'm saying if Ole Miss runs the table,
right?
Ole Miss has a better chance than A&M if A&M runs the table.
I was about to say, the thing giving A&M hope is the one conference loss, because you can still potentially
that's
find
where I
your
was
way
going
to
with that,
Atlanta.
yeah.
Yes. So they're not eliminated, but it would be hard.
But also, it will be interesting because if, let's say, LSU beats Alabama.
Mm-hmm. That was not me. That was Landrum. For everyone listening on the radio.
I'm going to flip that. Let's say LSU loses to Alabama.
Ah,
then that obviously hurts Texas A&M's
yes,
strength of schedule.
Yes.
That we're not going to see.
That we're not going to see.
No, that we're not going to see. So, I mean, I'm just using conventional wisdom when I say that. Because if you're Texas A&M, you need LSU to win every single game left on their schedule, which is Bama, Florida, Vanderbilt. All of a sudden, that Vanderbilt game looks very intriguing for not only LSU, but Tennessee.
Yeah. I was about to say, if you're an Alabama fan, I think you're really pulling for Georgia and Vanderbilt to beat Tennessee. As far-fetched as that may be, it's possible.
Meanwhile, Montana State is number 2 in the FCS coaches poll. They're 9-0. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the FCS. Zach Calzada, Incarnate Word. They're in the top 10.
They're pretty good.
I'll be honest with you. Once Jacksonville State made the jump, I have pretty much now. I will pay attention to it because Samford, but unfortunately, Samford's right, or I think below 500.
I was about to say,
right now.
they had a tough loss this weekend at Wofford.
Tough season for Hatch.
Yeah, but usually I paid attention to Jack State and Samford.
Yeah.
So
good for Montana.
Those big sky schools, man, they dominate on that division. Montana State, South Dakota State,
North Dakota
State.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said Auburn fans tried to throw trash on the field, but it was intercepted.
That's good. That's good.
That's good. Well, we know
you would have to, unless you were doing it from the end zone at Auburn, you better have a cannon if you're going to get it from the east or the west side.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been the only thing Cam Coleman caught over the weekend because he was only targeted 4 times.
He had 1 catch in the game, Pat. Come on.
Well, he had 1 catch, but only
it was what, 9 yards?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But how about Fairweather after the run? Huh?
That was big.
That was your offensive highlight of the week.
Yeah, on a terrible pass by Peyton Thorne that he scooped off the ground.
Off his shoelaces?
Yeah, that was a great play by Fairweather.
But then Fairweather fumbles and loses the game at the end.
Well, we don't have to bring that up.
3 steps forward, 2 steps back. But no, that was a heck of an effort.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
Your one highlight.
They scored at the 6:54 mark of the second quarter and was shut out by Vanderbilt at home on a beautiful day.
Hey, all it takes is 9 completions, Pat.
It's just unbelievable.
He had 5 going into the fourth quarter.
Unfortunately, it's becoming more believable week by week.
Somebody texted me over the weekend. They said, is this the worst defeat that Hugh Freeze has ever had it out at Auburn? I said,
No.
No.
That'd be New Mexico State last year. And they go, oh, forgot all about that one. And I said, yeah, they're piling up like cordwood here.
Yeah, that was a 10-point output, but your defense gave up 31. Oh, man.
This
soul searching to do down
Did
there.
not see 3 and 6 coming.
No.
I thought that they were going to have 4 wins by the time we were in October.
We thought they were going to have 4 wins by the time they hit the road for the first time.
Yeah. Yep.
At worst case scenario.
That was at worst. 4-2 going into what, Georgia?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But 5-1, or I guess 5-1 after Georgia.
Yes.
Would have been, or 4-2 after Georgia would have been worst case scenario. Because your first 5 games at home.
4-1, worst case at home. Worst case.
And now you're just praying, hoping and praying you can find a 5th win somewhere.
You got to get win number 4 first.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Nothing's
You don't
guaranteed
think
right
the fighting
now.
Bryant Vincent's are going to be up for that game?
They will
That
be.
payday.
Yeah.
Especially one of his assistant coaches. Don't tick him off.
Will he be there?
Coach Blankenship?
Internal discipline.
And that's right. They are handling it internally.
I
You like Kirby? You see Kirby slapping his guys around on the field on Saturday? Did you see that?
Landrum doesn't follow me on Twitter. If he did, he would have seen it.
I do follow you on Twitter. Shut up.
You still have me blocked?
Well, you keep sending me those offensive direct messages. Get out of my DMs.
I thought that was TikTok.
The TikToks he sends via the text.
Is that account on Twitter too?
Then he has to transcribe them because I'm not allowed to view anything on TikTok.
Yeah, I've got to go through an extra.
I was about to say he has to screen record them and send them to us.
Yeah, I have to go through an extra step if I want Landrum to see something, and I just don't want to put forth that effort anymore.
Understandable.
Do you have questions? No, never mind. We have a lot of questions. It's Reaction Monday. More of your text, 205-834-9450. 3-man front, Jocks 94.5. 133, three-man front reaction Monday. Appreciate all of your interaction on the phones. A lot of positive ringing endorsements for one Hugh Freeze today from Auburn fans. Tongue firmly planted in cheek. Jody texts in and says, is it me or does Hugh Freeze sound like a droopy dog? Kind of sounds like a droopy dog. Or like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh.
Blood and honey?
No, not that version. Not at all. Keep the text rolling in, 205-834-9450. A lot of people commented on the three potential candidates. If Auburn was making a list today, a lot of people having fun with Pat's recommendation. Personal endorsement of one Jimbo Fisher.
Welcome to the show, Ryan.
I've been slammed most of the day. We've already got a list.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We got a short list.
Is Jack Del Rio on there? I mean,
what about
Fisher.
Jeff Fisher?
Jeff Fisher?
No.
Yeah, he had the wrong Fisher. Yeah.
No, Fisher.
Jeff Fisher.
No, Fisher DeBerry.
Fisher DeBerry. It's going back. That was one of the options that they had prior to Terry Bowden being
That's
hired.
correct. They interviewed Fisher DeBerry from Air Force.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No,
You know Jimbo Fisher would be in the mix.
I threw out names that I thought you would see on Auburn's list, not saying that there would be mutual interest or viability of the guy getting the job. John Sumrall from Tulane, Eli Drinkwitz, and Rhett Lashley. Those were three that I threw out. Pat comes screaming out with Jimbo Fisher, which I didn't totally disagree with because people who are still influential down there, they got a cell phone.
I mean, y'all think he's going somewhere this year? Or are you
No.
just doing the hypothetical?
No,
okay.
we don't. Well, we were just asked by one of our listeners to throw it out there.
Yeah,
Auburn
so we
fan
did.
is suffering, and we're just trying to help. I don't know how much we've helped.
You're not going to be able to help some of it till next year.
No.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yes, it is. We do have 5 questions from Pat. Ryan Haney, our boss, is going to join us and try to answer them. This is Pat Ponders.
I want to know what you're thinking. Tell me what's on your mind.
It's time for Pat Ponders.
Brought to you by Courtesy GMC in Trustful. Visit them, exit 32 off of I-459, courtesybirmingham.com. Question number 1. If you switched Auburn's coaching staff with Alabama's and vice versa, would the team's records be the same right now?
No, Auburn's would be a little better and Alabama's would be worse.
Significantly more or less?
I think for Auburn, I will give them 1 or 2 more wins. For Alabama, I mean, you might have 3 more losses.
So you're saying they would have lost the South Carolina game?
You would have lost to South Carolina. You would have lost to Georgia. And, I mean, you might have lost to USF, honestly, with how that game
What
went.
if you had DJ Durkin, though, calling the defense against Vanderbilt?
You would have won.
See, wholesale,
Maybe, but are you scoring 35 points against Vanderbilt with Hugh Freeze? Probably not.
Well, I think if you, all things being equal, you have better players than Alabama.
Yes.
I think Auburn would be better. I don't think Alabama would be that much worse. It's hard to screw up that much talent in Alabama now.
Good point.
I mean, I know we're upset that they haven't lost, that they've lost 2 games and coach doesn't wear a collared shirt, Conrad, but I mean,
I'm
they
over,
wouldn't be
I'm
that
over
much
the
worse.
outfit. Now I'm just mad about the ice cream, Ryan. I mean, come on.
What's the ice cream? I've missed this. Oh, did they?
At practice.
They're letting them eat ice cream after practice. They had an ice cream truck come out there one day. And it's the reason they've lost 2 games.
You're right, it is.
Well, in addition to the T-shirt hoodie on the side.
Yeah.
So how much did you say? Little or no difference?
Yeah, I'm with Ryan. I don't think there would have been that much difference with Alabama. Now, Auburn.
I think Alabama, you'd have 2 losses. The difference might just be different games.
Yeah.
Auburn, I think.
Kalen
would have them in a
DeBoer,
better, yes.
Some of
agreed.
those close games that we saw where their offense did actually have a pulse. Probably get 2 or 3 more of those games. I would hope so.
All right, question number 2. Is it okay for sports fans to root for their teams to lose because you want the coach fired?
That's the interesting question. Is it you're rooting against the team or that you just don't care if they lose because you know a change needs to be made?
But
Or
ultimately,
are you
yeah.
considering those the same thing?
Ultimately, do you see your program going nowhere under its current leadership, and it's better to just go ahead and amputate as opposed to treating the wound?
Yeah.
I guess I feel like if you get to that point as a fan, I mean, I don't really have a problem with it because it obviously means things have been horrible if you're getting to the point where you actively are rooting to lose so that a change has to be made. So if that's the point you get to as a fan, I think you have that right.
Yeah, apathy is the worst thing you can have. You're talking about Auburn. Auburn, they're still, that's the sad part for the fans. They're still packing the place out.
Yep.
Week in, week out. So the apathy is not hit in yet. I think that's the worst thing you can have. No, everybody wants to go for the coach's head, and this is not a defense of Freeze or any other coach for that matter, but sometimes the situation is just a situation. And sometimes the situation takes a little time to get out of. Again, some people read that as I'm saying, oh, well, that's not it at all. I'm just saying, who's got a magic wand that's going to turn around at Auburn what needs to be turned around?
No,
like just because they have a different coach doesn't mean they'd be in a different situation.
It's all
They might not be 2-6 or 3-6 or whatever they are. They might be 4-4.
Think about Mike Elko.
But
this time last week, he was on cloud 9. They wanted to build a statue. Then he goes and gets beat by 24 on the road at South Carolina.
I think the lesson, what we've learned in all this is if you're going to go in the portal for a quarterback, much like a lot of players, but especially a quarterback, you better not miss.
Yes.
Look at what's happened.
Or
down
go
in
bargain
Tallahassee this year,
hunting.
too. Yes.
Because there's a reason why it's in the clearance box.
Well, I mean, all the people that are expecting a freshman to come in and like go perform miracles in the SEC. I mean, come on, really?
Yeah.
Do you think if the starting quarterback for Auburn next season is currently on that roster, wouldn't they already be in?
I would think so.
Okay.
I agree with that.
All right, question number 3. What SEC team impressed you the most from this previous weekend?
It's South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, But if we want to go a different route, I'll give props to Ole Miss.
No,
that was
sure.
by far the best showing they've had all year.
But South Carolina, if they play with that kind of energy and effort, the final 4 games of the season, I don't think they lose. They'll finish 9-3.
Ole Miss taking a lot of heat. Haven't looked good at times. Been some questions about stuff going on in the locker room. Lane could change the whole narrative. They'll be back in on Lane.
Lane's going to
if
be
he wins Saturday.
Lane is already so in his own head about this matchup with Kirby and Georgia.
Dick Kirby's already up 17-0.
Yes. Yes.
According to Kirby, they've got some interesting text messages, always going back and forth with a lot of those former Alabama assistant coaches.
I'm sure they do.
I hate it for you. Ole Miss isn't going to win that game.
All right, we'll see.
Hopefully, maybe his personal life isn't distracting him anymore and he's ready to move on. Is that what we're...
Lane can multitask. We learned that from his time here.
He is concentrating on football these
That was
days.
just amongst us, Conrad. That was not for public air.
He's not posting sad things on social media anymore. That's what I'm talking about.
He's gotten over the
losses. The loss to Kentucky. He was
Yes.
posting some very
he was
sad things after that.
All right, next question.
Juice has entered the transfer portal.
A little bit of news, good news possibly in Gainesville, Florida today. DJ Lagway's injury appears to be not as significant as originally feared. Did the performance for the Gators this weekend against Georgia, did that pause the potential for Napier to lose his job by season's end?
I'll jump in. It should. Again, 3 seasons. What do they expect? Look where they've been. I mean, give the guy one more year. The kids are playing their tails off. I mean, who are you going to put there? And someone don't say Jamie Chadwell because that's the name everybody comes up with. I mean, come on.
I think part of it comes down to what your options are, right? If you're Florida and you have somebody that you think is just an absolute home run hire that you can bring in, then by all means make that change. But Yeah, I mean, I think what I've seen from Florida, honestly, over the entire season, I mean, to have it be as close as it was late in that game against Georgia with your third-string quarterback who looked scared out of his mind when he came into that game, super impressive. They have been very competitive.
It definitely should give you pause, unless you just absolutely know that you've got a guy waiting in the wings that's already privately agreed that he's going to come there.
And he's going to win big in year 1, year 2.
Yeah, you certainly have to evaluate it.
The starting over every other year helps no one.
No.
That's just not college football thing. That's anywhere.
And I think you've shown with Lagway and with Ball, the running back, and some of these guys, like, you've got something to work with there. And I think that's a big part of it is you can see kind of the foundation being laid potentially. Some of these young guys, pretty good. Landry doesn't look happy with my answer on that one.
Like to mess with you a little bit.
All right, fifth and final question for today. What do you find yourself buying even though you have many of them?
Patriot Supply.
What's your go-to on that?
I'll get
one?
an email on that one.
Is it the solar panel generator or the endless water supply?
Somebody's laughing all the way to the bank on that one.
Yeah, they are. Oh, man. Something you continue to buy. Mine is tennis shoes.
So you have a tennis shoe fetish?
I guess if you want to call it that. What is the definition of fetish?
I thought you preferred the shoes off.
I think his fetish list is longer than his list of Santa each year.
No, it's definitely ball cap, but ball caps and tennis shoes. I don't think I can ever have enough. And it's really hard to part with them.
Well, we know Conrad's is not socks. So what's yours, Conrad?
It is not. I was going to say shoes, but since Landrum took shoes, I'll go sweatshirts, hoodies. I have a lot of those. It's my favorite clothing item.
Probably dogs. I've got 3. I have about 6 more.
What about you?
It would probably be hoodies, like college hoodies. I got way too many of those.
Yeah.
Lyncham wants to say something, but he won't say it.
Yes, he does. He does.
Save it for the podcast. Yeah.
All right, that's today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC in Trussville. Visit them online at courtesybirmingham.com.
We continue here on this Reaction Monday, 3-man front and Jocks 94.5.
Patriot Supply. About
It is 1:50, Jocks 94.5. Appreciate you making us a part of your Monday. Tomorrow is going to be a very exciting day. Many people will take the opportunity to tune in to the college football playoff rankings tomorrow night. Prior to,
I'm sorry, what?
Unless you're going to be settling in for a long night of election coverage. Hope everyone goes out and exercises your constitutional right tomorrow in voting. I've already done mine.
I've already voted a couple of times.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. Just to make sure.
Now, if you were in Illinois or New York, I would say, you know what? That seems about right.
Text line is open, 205-834-9450, as we try to get into
What are you laughing?
some hot
What are you
water.
laughing about?
It's just funny. We got 5 minutes left in the show, and
Yeah,
it's
like the match. This text reads...
Just wait till you see the poll question tomorrow.
Wait, when you go to a poll or like a polling place or the poll question?
The Twin
for the
Peaks
show.
Twitter poll question of the day tomorrow.
This text reads, it seems like Hugh Freeze has given up on this season. Why can't he wait for it to be over and just move on someplace else?
Are you talking about like Hugh Freeze leaving?
Yeah.
Oh. He's got 20 million reasons why he shouldn't.
Yeah, and I mean, somebody, I know somebody called in earlier and said, do you think he's trying to lose on purpose to get his buyout? And I think that's ridiculous to think that he's doing that. But, I mean, you go back to the Missouri game, and what did he say after the game is we have to learn how to play to win instead of playing not to lose. And clearly on Saturday, they were playing not to lose again.
All right, here we go. This text, bear with me. I was at the game on Saturday, and I might have had me 1 or 10 adult beverages, and I'm in the stands when Auburn has 12 men on the field penalty, and no exaggeration, for about 8 to 10 seconds, I'm hollering at the top of my lungs, quote, we got 12 men on the field, we got 12 men on the field, we got 12 men on the field. And then second-guessing myself because nobody's acting different, and maybe I'm seeing one more person because I've had some of those adult beverages. Then the ball is snapped, and Auburn makes the stop on third down. Flag comes out, too many on the field, extended drive. They go down to score. My question is, how is a drunk a-hole more aware than the whole Auburn sidelines? That's the spot you burn a timeout, not when we're 1 second away from the 2-minute warning or the 2-minute timeout. Well said.
That might be the best Auburn text we've gotten all year. That was good.
It was, yeah.
That was really good.
The short list, says Crimson Convict, should include anyone who will give Hunter the damn ball.
Well, they better hurry.
Only got 3 games left.
Yeah, he's going to be running out of time. Mark says T-Rob for head coach at Auburn. This one rolls in. Jimbo Fisher is going to be at West Virginia.
Could see that.
Yep.
Ed from Calera. Freeds needs to self-evaluate.
But would Jimbo hold out taking the West Virginia job?
Thinking
that he might have a better opportunity to get the Auburn job.
You mean in terms of, let's say West Virginia offered him this offseason, and you have to wait a year for Auburn?
Yep.
Interesting. Hang out in Homewood.
It's not like he's got the need for money.
No.
Gordy asks, would Bama fans be upset with the current record if Kurt Cignetti were the head coach and a coach known for discipline?
Yes, it does not matter who the coach is.
No, they would have found something else.
Correct.
To be upset about.
I promise you, the people that were mad about Kalen DeBoer for what he wore on the sideline were not mad at Kalen DeBoer for what he wore on the sideline. They were mad because Alabama lost.
Jimmy says, Pat believes everything he sees on the internet. Do you really?
What did I believe on the internet?
I don't know.
Well, if it's on the internet, it's true, so.
I have no idea. This text says, let Walker White play the last 3 games, keep the red shirt, and get the experience. Again, though, I realize it, but do you think that Peyton Thorne is all of the problems?
And I agree with what Ryan said and Pat Ponders, right? If you really believed that one of those guys was the future of your program, don't you think they would have gotten a shot by now? I mean, I know Hank Brown did, but.
Jamie says Bill Clark at Auburn. Do that one out.
Be an incredible hire.
This text says, bring home the prodigal son. Rhett Lashley, WDE. Drake says, if Dan Mullen was still the coach at Florida, this team would have quit.
I do think that's one of the things you can look at Billy Napier and say his players don't give up. They fight.
Brian texts in and says, Hugh is more stubborn than I ever thought. He's still trying to force his system on these guys instead of running what they can actually run. Inability to adapt is just sad. WDE. Kurt Signetti, a vote for the Auburn job. Dan Landing.
Well, yes. In an ideal world, yes.
Is Dion fully out of consideration at Auburn? This listener asked. Bring Gus back.
That sounded a lot better a month ago.
Posey said last relevant coach they had was from Ole Miss. Just saying. Brandon says, as an Auburn fan, if I had to listen to Jimbo talk wide open like he does, I would buy an Alabama shirt. Oh, gosh.
Hey, he beat Nick Saban, too. That's the prerequisite right there.
That's right.
Please fire Hugh Freeze. Worst coach, cannot use the great player number 27 because he wants his quarterback to pass. Orange heart emoji, blue heart emoji. Enjoy basketball tonight.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Pat's about to go fire in.
You got 365 games to fire in on.
No, just by you saying that reminded me I've got a game to do tonight.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Have you done your green and gold report? Huh?
Half of it.
Half of it?
Yeah.
Just the green part.
Paul Feinbaum, the Paul Feinbaum Show is next. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your Monday.